kids. It's time to get some SML podcast all up in that.
What's up, everybody? This is the SML podcast. I am your host, Joe. Joining as usual, Cole. How are you doing?
I didn't die today.
That's
you ever just
every
have
week.
a day where you're like, I know, but no, it's all rainy and gross and I don't feel good. Thank goodness I don't have to carry the show too hard today because we have help.
We do have help. We have a guest joining us right now, Nathan Fouts of Mommy's Best Games. How are you doing?
Hey, everybody. I'm doing great.
How's things going?
It's pretty exciting, and I don't know. It's in between exciting and exhausting to launch a new game, and promote it and talk about it.
Yeah, speaking of, the game is called Pig Eat Ball. For the people who don't know what this game is, give us the sales pitch.
Imagine you're playing Pac-Man, but Pac-Man is getting fatter and fatter while you eat the pellets. You still got to beat a level by eating all the pellets, but now you're super fat and you get stuck in the maze. How are you going to get out of the maze? You can now barf out pellets and recollect them. So it turns every level into a bit of a puzzle because now you have to kind of figure out what order to eat it in and how to get around the level a little bit more. And there's actually about 214 levels, and it's a big action adventure game. So it's sort of like the kind of game where you play 5 levels, 10 levels a night, take a break, come back the next night, and keep playing. And there's 5 different worlds, there's a big story, cool bosses, all kinds of stuff like that.
And it never ends because there's over 200 stages.
No, it's just one. I wanted to make it's the biggest game we've ever made. It's our 8th game at Mommy's Best Games. We made a ton of games, but I wanted to make the biggest one we ever made, and I'm charging big boy dollars for an indie game. It's $15. But it's 100% worth it. And if anything, it's too worth it. There's too much stuff. But it's just like a good 10 to 12 hour adventure. Every time you get to a new world, it's all new content. So, like you play some games and you get to a new place and there's a new enemy, but he's like the red version of the guy you've been fighting for a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
A palette swap. Well, we don't do that. So when you get to a new level, I love it in some games where you get to a new level and everything's entirely different. Like the world's different, and there's new puzzles and new enemies and new places to explore, all different kind of stuff. So there's 5 worlds like that, and it's a lot of levels, but there's a lot of variety to them.
Where did the idea for this game come from? I know Mommy's Best Games is known for their shooters, and this doesn't seem like much of a shooter. It's a weird one. It's an especially weird one. We do make really weird games, but I always try to say I always try to make sure the games we make, they might be weird, but they're incredibly fun too. They're not just weird and like an oddity. So all of our shooters are like that too. They always have a strange mechanic. And so like I said before, the mechanic is kind of where I start on them. I make sure there's a really solid core, a very unusual twist to all of our games. And so that's the Pac-Man gets fatter idea here. In some of our past games like Shoot 'Em Up, it's a shoot 'em up, but you play all the 1-ups at the same time. So that's like it's one of our most popular games as well. Shoot 1 Up. It's on Steam. It used to be on Xbox 360, but nobody plays it anymore. Yeah, we need an Xbox One version of that.
I know. It would be nice if I got off my lazy butt and ported it, but we'll see. But it is on Steam, so it's available that way, and it's really cool. So I always try to put a unique twist in games. Like in our very first indie game, Weapon of Choice, it was a Contra game, but it's not exactly bullet time. I created this thing called death brushing, and you have a brush with death. So as soon as you get close enough to almost dying, if you continue on the same path, you will die. Like if a bullet is grazing near your head, everything slows down, and so you actually get a chance to move out of the way. So all of our games are the same way in that they're for old people that used to like games. So I am old and grumpy, and I have about 20 to 30 minutes a night to play a game. And so that's how I design all my games as well.
You're speaking my language here. Old grumpy, not much time to game.
With Weapon of Choice, it was our first game. It's a Contra game. I absolutely adore Contra, and I wanted to make a Contra game that didn't like kick my butt too much and had like lots of cool monsters. And it's a very short game, but there's 7 branching paths, something like that, 5 or 6, 7, depends on where you look. So you can beat a path really quickly, but you unlock new stuff, and it still can. There's a bunch of different difficulty settings. So that's Weapon of Choice. Shoot one up similar. It's branching. It's got a shoot 'em up thing going on. They're a little bit easier to play basically than the old stuff you remember, but hopefully still satisfying. So shoot one up's like, I love it because you just blaze through it and feel like you're super powerful because you get like ships to shoot everything with. So
I remember playing that on my Windows phone.
I know, right? And Microsoft actually published that. Isn't that crazy? Windows phone.
I miss that so much. I loved my Windows phone.
You and 3 other people bought it.
I know.
I know all 3 of them, I think.
Yeah. They really floated it. I loved it.
We're all friends. The 3 people who own Windows phones, we all know each other.
Yeah, they got everybody to get a Windows phone in his neighborhood.
Scott, and Bills. We're the 3 Windows phone
Bills,
owners.
I didn't think of Bills, so that means 4, because she's had one, too.
My wife had one. Man, we're up to 5.
Oh, see,
okay, yeah.
I didn't have one, but I was an Android whore from the beginning. Sorry.
Yeah, we ported that to Windows Phone, and that was a lot of fun. The craziest story. I'm going to tell you a real quick story. You guys are going to love this from the Windows Phone from dealing with Microsoft as a publisher. All right.
Okay.
So shoot one up. We're porting the game, and Nicole, I don't know if you saw this game, but have you seen screenshots at all of this weird game? Shoot one up.
I'm looking at your website right now.
You see the booby girl? There's there's a robo booby girl called Mecha Lilith, and she's the boss of the 5th level, and she's a crowd pleaser. But you know, she's a robot flying girl. Then her brassiere shoots off and fires lasers. Anyway, so in that particular level, there's all these android women that are like lying in weird, creepy computer coffins with wires all over them, and they're robot women, and they're nude, but they're lying in these coffins, and all these wires are covering them. And I'm on a phone call with like 3 Microsoft people and a lawyer, and they said we played the robot girl level. It's really good, but the robot girls don't have any clothes on. And I said, yeah, no. I said there's no nudity in the game. They're covered up by the wires. And they said, yeah. But underneath that, they're naked.
No.
And I said, yeah, but underneath my clothes, I'm naked. and they're like, I'm sorry, you got to put clothes on them. I said, I'm going to put 2 layers of clothes on them. There's wires covering them in clothing. And they're like, yeah, otherwise we can't do it. I said, fine. Okay, I'll put clothes on them. So now they have clothes and wires in the Windows Phone version. So then I took that to the Steam version, and in the Steam version, you can put clothes on the booby girls, like even underneath the wires, or not. You can't see anything anyway. They're covered up with wires. Anyway, I thought that was hilarious. That actually shipped on the Xbox 360 like the regular way, with covered up with wires. And but when we got to Windows Phone, they're like, we can't put our name on it if they're going to be naked underneath that. I just thought that was crazy. I was like, but I'm naked under my clothes. Like, that's how clothes work. What happened? Anyway, it was great. It was really fun. I mean, when you're on a phone call with that many people and a lawyer, it feels really Anyway.
Just a conference call talking about booby girl.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I actually said that to the people. I think I kept on saying androids just to stay professional, but I prefer robo booby girls.
Yeah, we're not professional.
No.
Yeah, well, it's pretty silly looking anyway.
I'm sitting here like thinking they were probably more clothed than Cortana.
Naked hologram? I don't know.
I mean,
yeah.
If they had wires, at least they had something tangible covering their breast.
Yeah, exactly. And
Cortana didn't even have that.
Yeah, and then ships on their, flagship games and stuff. Anyway, well,
good old Microsoft.
I know. because I was, they were putting me under special scrutiny. But, so the inspiration for this game, I decided to switch a little bit. So just before doing this game, I did Serious Sam Double D XXL. That was a fun game. Thank you. Yeah, it was a side scroller. That was another twist that I tried to put on the Contra formula, which is you have a gun, but you can stack your guns on top of each other, which is the silliest thing ever. And Valve loved it, and they published it, and it was great. We saw a lot of that one. So with that game, I love those kind of games, but I did that. I worked on that one for several years, and we ported it to the Xbox 360 as well. But it had a ton of like cartoony gore and, jibs and blowing apart monsters. And our kids were young and starting to get just a little bit older. And I thought, maybe I'll like tone it down for the next game and not, make a bloody jibby game. And for the longest time, Pig Eat Ball did not have barf in it, which I know was like a big part of it. So my wife was like, she was just like, this is fine, but you'll end up making it gross. And keep in mind, there was no barf in the game. So you would just shoot the balls back out of your mouth. That was the original version of the game I was doing. And I was like, no, it'll be fine. I'll keep it nice. I'll be good. And then finally, I think she came home from work one day. And I was like, look, there's barf in the game. She's like, I knew it. But I was like, it has to have a hook. You know what I mean? Like, I want to. So, yeah. So there's barf in the game. So I thought
instead of buckets of gore, it's buckets of vomit.
Well, when you put it like that, you make it sound so bad.
It's just green giblets instead of red.
Exactly. Be like
unless you're colorblind.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like the Super NES code. You can switch it, white or green or red or something.
It's sweat. I swear.
It's sweat. Mortal Kombat style. Yeah. So it spawned out of like having the gameplay kind of ideas that were different, but then I just wanted to. I don't know. Whenever I'm making a game, I always say like you got to make sure that people can distinguish the game. You know what I mean? Like when they see it, it's got to look instantly unique.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you try. So I figured if this one had green barf splattered everywhere, that would be a good starter. When you're scrolling through screenshots of games.
Yeah, it caught our attention.
I mean, I love the look of when you barf on the Pac-Man ghosts. It's only 2 levels in the game. There's only 2 levels, or a couple of levels of Pac-Man ghosts, like our riff on the Pac-Man ghost, but I think it's hilarious. So,
for the people who haven't seen those, what happens?
Well, they're kind of yucky looking, like the way I drew them. I kind of like to think they're like the dark souls of Pac-Man ghosts.
Dark souls of Pac-Man.
Just say that to be offensive. No, I mean, it's sort of like gritty and yucky looking, and they're kind of creepy because their eyeballs actually kind of bug out of their little ghost holes. So they look kind of goofy, like kind of creepy, and their eyes can look around. They bug out so far. And then you can barf on them, and if you do, they do that thing where they turn blue and they freak out, but they're like holding up their hands like, why? And they kind of make a distorted. I did all original sounds. So even though it sounds like Pac-Man, it's like all original sounds. They're like a distorted, creepy version of Pac-Man sounds. And they're going blah 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 blah, and they're floating around. And then if you eat them, like think about Pac-Man, he eats the ghost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the eyeballs go back to the home. Well, in Pig Eat Ball, you can eat the ghosts, but you actually suck their little blue skin off. And underneath are little floating eyeballs, a floating brain, and a floating, a vertebrae. So it looks really gross and creepy. I love it. I love that stuff. It's just, but it's cheap and gross and creepy, so it's not like, I don't know, Mortal Kombat 11. That's like a little bit too. I stopped on gore. I stopped on gore in like 1993. So anything past that's too much for me. I like everything. I like all practical effects and looks like jam and stuff like that,
so violence these days in games is just insane. It's crazy how realistic it's getting.
It's cool. I mean, it's cool. Some part of me likes it, and then another part of me, I kind of like, it's a little too much. Like, I don't need it, So,
like Mortal Kombat's one thing because of how over the top it is. But like last year at E3, when I saw the gameplay footage for The Last of Us 2, I got kind of queasy at some of that stuff. It's so visceral.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
I spent the day playing a game where I carved up corpses and fed the meat back to townspeople, so I'm not fazed by anything.
What was that game?
Huh?
What game is that?
Graveyard Keeper.
That's all pixelated, though.
Oh,
that's
no, they're
realistic
definitely
violence.
not pixelated. I mean, there's no violence to it because they're dead already. They come to you dead, and then you cut them up. And then you take the meat and sell it back to the tavern. Or you cook it and eat it yourself.
Yeah, see, a lot of things in games are crazier when you talk about,
I had to explain that to my husband earlier because he'd forgot the last time I'd played the game. And then he's been busy deer hunting all week, so he hasn't seen me playing it. And then he comes in today and he's like, "The fuck are you doing?" And then I had to go through the whole explanation of well, this guy's a skull and his name is Jerry and he's my friend, and now I gotta carve up these corpses because the talking donkey brings them to me. And the more I explained it, the more I was just I'm getting deeper in a hole here.
Just the look of confusion grows.
Yeah. It doesn't get better.
It's not safe to leave you alone.
Yeah. I'm
slowly backs out of the room.
Yeah. I don't need to hear anymore. That's awesome.
You gotta worry about, for his sake. No wonder he's got anxiety and shit because he lives with me and I consume this type of media on a regular basis.
Oh, Lord. Anyway, back to Barf Souls.
Barf Souls?
Oh gosh, Joe, why did I not call it Barf Souls?
That's the sequel.
No, yeah.
Piggy Ball 2, Barf Souls.
That's really good. I'm gonna name that. I'll tweet this out later on and name that the title of the episode. Barf Souls.
Oh shit! That means we wasted the one good idea.
Yeah.
We always have just one good idea on our show every time we have an interview. Never more. All the other ideas are just dog shit ideas, but we always have a good one.
Be hesitant to call some of our ideas good. Even the good ideas can be a little questionable.
Well, I'll take that one. I love it. I think Barf Souls is awesome. Yeah, I made the single player like that. The game actually started as a party game. 4-player local. Yeah, I know. 4-player local couch co-op game. And the way it started was, again, with the gameplay where I said, this is back when, oh man, this game's old too. It's in 2013 is when I started working on it.
Wow.
So it's been for 6 years. I know it sounds crazy, but I promise there's a lot of game there. It started around a little bit after when Towerfall was popular. And I looked at Towerfall, and it's a really fun game. And I just kind of said, I just want to make a party game, though, that's not a deathmatch game. I want to make something new. I want to make a all new party game. And so I came up with the basic concept for Piggy Ball in a 4-player mode, which is, imagine there's all these balls, like pellets, pumping into a level. So there's these little tennis ball shooters shooting balls in. There's 4 of you, and you're these little flying circular pig creatures. And what happens is, the concept is you eat balls in the front, there's your mouth, and on your tail, if you get attacked, if you get boosted, bumped on your tail by somebody else, your tail will get hurt and you'll barf the balls back out. So you end up spinning around really fast all the time. You're trying to protect your tail, but then also aim your mouth to eat the balls. So the 4-player mode's a blast too. And for the longest time, we didn't have barf. So you would eat the balls, but and then you shoot the balls back out when you get bumped. But now it's way better because you can barf, and you can actually barf in your friend's mouth. I mean, it's I think I got first on that in games. I don't think there's any game that lets you do that. There's a rainbow barfing game.
Oh my god, barf in each other's mouths.
Oh.
Yeah. So the most satisfying thing is you'll get really big, and so it's cool. However much bigger you get, you lose subsequently more balls. So let's say the target is 30 balls to eat, and you've got 25, and then someone bumps you on the tail. Well, you got about a second, and you're gonna barf, and at that point you'll barf out 5 balls instead of 2 or 3 or 4. And the best thing, it only happens occasionally. The best thing is if you can just get right up in someone's face and go poof right in their mouth, and it's satisfying. You actually give them your balls, but they shoot straight into their mouth. which causes them to barf as well, like in just a moment.
Lord.
So can you just have barf volleyball back and forth?
Oh, yeah. No, it keeps going. Like it's like the game kind of builds in a match. It only takes about a minute or two to play like a match of the eating all the balls. But what'll happen is it'll be all civil for a while. Everyone's small, right? And so you're eating and you're flying around, you're zipping around, you're trying to eat balls. Well, after a few seconds, you're getting bigger and bigger, and now you're starting to like invade each other's space, right? You're getting bigger and bigger, and you'll notice someone's getting really big. And in every level of the party mode, whoever's the biggest is winning. It doesn't matter what kind of game mode it is. That's the design is. You always just keep an eye out for whoever's getting the biggest, and you can go and all you gang up on them. So basically, if a few people start getting bigger and bigger, and then it just goes nuts. I mean, like at that point, it's just barf fest because everyone's like tagging each other on the tails, and the barf balls are flying everywhere, and it just starts cascading. And eventually, there's so many balls on the screen, someone will win, but it just changes hands really fast. It's
they win involuntarily.
Yeah. So in the single player game and the party mode, the rules are the same. It's if you eat 3 balls in a row really quickly, you'll barf again. So if you eat like 1 ball or 2 balls, what'll happen is you'll automatically burp, and then you're fine. But if you eat them right in a row too quickly, you're gonna lose it. And your little cheeks change and your face changes, and so you can tell, and you make sounds and stuff. And yeah, that was fun. It was fun trying to get the sounds not too gross, but gross enough. I'm serious. Like that was hard.
What is too gross?
Too gross is when you hear it and you feel nauseous. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys did you play Silent Hill 2? I know that's
no. I've never been into the Silent Hill games. I'm terrible at survival horror.
Joe's a bitch, and I don't have a PlayStation, so.
Okay, well, I love it. Silent Hill 2, and if anybody remembers out in the audience, there's a scene with a fat guy in the game, and he's vomiting into a toilet in the game, like in the cutscene. It's gross. Like, it's for real sounding. You know what I mean? And it's like a heaving sound. When you hear somebody heaving for real, it just makes you go, oh, gosh. Well, I'm sorry. I can't take that sound of, like, somebody horking. Like they're like sucking up the snot to spit. Oh yeah, that's a good sense too.
That will have me gagging every time. So as soon as you said not too gross, I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
The dry heaving sound, and they put it straight out, like the guy's getting sick in the game, and it's really gross. This is not like that. So
see, I'm not bothered by dry heaving. And I'll tell you, like, like when you're watching a horror movie and they're all touching blood and shit, and then like at the bottom in the subtitles it puts the word squelch. I love squelch. That's great. But the moment like you have full on puking, we have issues.
Well, the guy does it in Silent Hill too. But so in Piggy Ball, I took some recorded sounds and then pitched them way up and put a flange on them, and it makes it like bleep. It just makes these like squeaky kind of sounds. They're like bleep, bleep, and it's funny sounding. Like it's comical, but it gets the point across. It sounds like they're getting sick, but it doesn't actually internally affect you.
Yeah. Something else that is really, really gross is the fact that No Time for Games just subbed to us for his 20th month. That is disgusting, and I thank you very much.
Poor bastard.
Nice.
I'm an idiot.
Poor Joe.
I put a volume control on the barf. You can actually take it way off, take it all the way down.
I did.
I mean, who would do that? Why?
I turned it way down. I didn't take it off, but I turned it down.
So there's music, there's sound effects, and there's a special sound effects just for barf. And you can take it all the way down if you want, or 10% or whatever. And then there's also barf particle options versus regular particle options. So you can take those way down. I mean, I also released it on Steam, and the game runs fine. But I'm just naturally like, I don't know, I like games with lots of options. So you can crank up the particles, or you can take them way down.
One of the things for me was that, like, you remember how you said that you eat 3 real fast and you get sick?
Yep.
I have sonic issues, and that means that I always got to go fast. And so I was hearing the puking sound a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, Yeah, we're gonna turn that down because that's coming up frequently to tell me I'm failing.
There you go. Yeah. The cool thing, the game changed about a year before launch, and it got way more fun. I put this mechanic in to the game that you've seen at this point, where let's say you've got to eat 20 balls on a level, and then you get sick halfway through the level, and you eat up some balls accidentally that are going to make you barf, and you're getting ready to barf, but you have like 7 more to eat. If you can keep eating, or even taking damage, or even just breaking things, it resets the little barf timer on your back. So it makes eating a level really exciting and really like rewarding, because you're on the edge. You're sort of living on the edge there, where you're like gonna lose, and then boom, you win, and the game's over. Or the level's over. You beat it. So previously we didn't have that, and it was more tedious. Like you just knew you were going to lose the balls, and there was no way to recover. So from a game design standpoint, when you offer a way to recover, it feels really fun. It's like just way more fun. So
that's like if you're feeling sick and you feel like you're going to throw up, just eat more, and that'll fix it.
It makes no sense whatsoever. It's like hair of the dog or something. I don't know. Like it's like keep going.
Sometimes you've just got to commit to it.
You know what? I'm gonna get. It's gonna be big. I'm gonna keep going.
I've done it. Like there was one where I beat a level, and I was like, I knew I was about to puke all over the damn place, and I was like, okay, going for it, almost done. And I beat it, and I didn't puke. And I was like, yeah. And then I was like, ew.
But barf confetti instead.
Yeah.
Exactly. I tried to take the barfing theme as far as possible. So when you beat a level, you barf confetti out. Yeah. And
where does it come from?
Exactly.
Don't answer that.
They come from the souls of the innocent that you devoured before the game started.
Were they
Barf
Dark Souls?
Yes, barf souls.
Yeah, there's actually, it's a really weird detail, but the clam that you play the levels, you're actually inside it, and you get barfed out of the clam at the end, and the clam barfs out the pearl. So there's a lot of this kind of spit up theming going throughout. Just try to, try to carry it through. So
it's beautiful. I love it.
I work hard on these things. I think way too hard about these stupid things. So, I just wanted to make sure no one else beat me to the punch. That was of having barf in the game.
I know
Nobody
you showed
beat you to the punch, so you barfed in the punch bowl.
Oh God. I know you showed the game off at a lot of conventions. I ran into you at MagFest, and I played the game there. Have you ever caused anyone to throw up at a convention while they were playing the game?
That's a great question. Fortunately, no.
Damn it.
But I know. That would have been like a real feather in my cap. But yeah, I can only say that people have gotten. They said it was too much. So, and not a lot, but that's why I added the options in there to turn things off. You know what I mean? And turn on the volume.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty small percentage, but I'm always surprised when they say it. But I figure there's different sensitivities in people. But yeah, nobody actually got sick. That would have been really impressive. And I don't know if I would have been happy about it. Because then I got to clean up the controllers, and that would have been. Oh,
just have buckets near the stations, just in case.
Oh yes, I really missed out. I should have put fake barf on the controllers, so when people walked up, they'd be like, "Oh, God."
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how you ensure nobody plays your game at a convention.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the game was already weird enough. I'm pretty sure no one would have played it at that point. But
all right, guys, we've had a big line. Things are getting crazy. I need a break. Get the fake barf out.
Just put it. I'm going to the bathroom. Put it on the controllers, and we should be fine. No one's going to touch anything. Yeah. No, we took it to a bunch of shows. We did PAX East, PAX West. We did MagFest. We were actually in the Indie Mega Booth several times, so that was cool. It's a good group that goes to the PAX shows. We did the PSX show. We did some GDC, Xbox shows, Microsoft. They went about everywhere. Oh, and the game's out on all consoles for anybody listening. So Switch and Xbox One and PS4. So yeah, all the companies were pretty good about it.
So everybody gets to get in on the barfing action. No one's left behind.
Hot barfing.
But did they make you put clothes on the bar?
No, I did not get any awkward conversation. I'm a little disappointed that I didn't.
There are clothes for the pig, though.
Yeah, she's got a bow on. Yeah. She's got. There's actually. Yeah, there's like a spandex sort of thing going on with the pig. They have colors. I mean, there's like pink skin, but there's colors on their clothing. So in the 4-player mode, they have different colors. Yeah, but I didn't get any weird questions about the pigs. I'm kind of sad about that from like Nintendo or something.
What kind of questions would you want to get? Like, what do you wish somebody asked you?
I would have loved it if they had like drilled down on some sort of odd detail in like, World 3 and complained about some mechanic. You know what I mean? Some sort of really intense level of detail that I'd never considered. It would have really just like delighted me to have to think about it. So there's there's all kinds of little like objects you can pick up and use in the game. So like a scrub brush and there's bubbles. There's actual Pong games in there. I got a little bit of trouble for the homages in the game, like to Q*bert and stuff like that. People were wondering if they're illegal, and I'm like, they're not direct copies. So there was just
I figure you're covered under parody as well, wouldn't you be?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So yeah, that's what I was saying anyway. But we never got any actual legal problems.
That's good.
Thank you. Yeah. I always there's about, I mean, people can look, there's like 12 or so direct homages in the game. So like if you can play Q*bert, but the little Curly, the little guy that jumps around, now he's an electric eel instead of a snake. So he's kind of, and you're in a sushi world. So he's like the eel sushi. What was that? Or something.
I have no clue.
You don't like sushi?
No, I'm not a sushi guy.
No. That eel, I think it's a freshwater eel. It tastes really good, which doesn't sound good, but it does taste good.
Cole, are you into sushi?
I'm not. I have a lot of weird aversions to food textures. And so, like,
you don't want that.
I'm sure it tastes fantastic. It's just that I can't hack the texture of fish.
Oh, well, yeah.
And so I can't eat it.
This eel is it's a cooked eel, believe it or not. It's not a raw one, so there's that.
I can't do cooked fish either. Like I have since we're speaking of puking so much,
let's do it.
I can't safely eat meatloaf. Like my sister makes a meatloaf my sister makes a meatloaf that is Asian inspired with like soy and hoisin sauce and just all the good stuff. And she sends it to me and she's like, "You're going to love it." And I'm like, "Janie, I can't eat meatloaf. I can't do this." And she's like, no, go ahead, try it. And like, you can smell it and it's so incredible. And then the moment it like got to my lips, I didn't even put it in my mouth yet. My brain is just like, "You can't do this." Blah! And I was fucked. God. And I was so sad because I had this whole big thing of Asian meatloaf in my fridge and I couldn't touch it.
You got sick?
I got sick.
Oh,
like, put the fork down, go vomit sick.
Oh, God.
I can't believe you would talk about something so disgusting, Cole.
I know. How dare I? I'll go back to drawing dicks in my day planner. What I'm really doing half the time we're here anyway.
Pretty much.
Hey, speaking of offensive games.
Speaking of dicks.
Does it involve a dick?
Okay, well, this is not a dick game, but I got to tell you guys should seek this one out if you haven't already. I'm going to call out to another indie game that I think is pretty cool. It's called Freedom Finger.
Oh, I heard about that one.
It's pretty good. Okay, so I am kind of a shoot 'em up, shmup nerd, and so I will just say, personally, as a shoot 'em up, I don't think it's great. It's not super effective, but as a comedy game and a parody game, I think it's fantastic. So if you guys or any listeners are into comedy parody games or just wacky, South Park games or anything like that, I think you should look. It's great. I got it on Steam. It's also on Switch. It's fun. It's pretty fun. It's not like the best shoot 'em up, but it's a fun game, and you play as a a spaceship that looks like a hand giving you the middle finger.
Oh my gosh.
And you shoot bullets out of the middle finger, and it's what is the word when Americans? What is the word of extreme patriotism when you go to other countries and you just show off? It's like jingoism. Have you heard of that? Like when America goes and struts around Iraq and blows up stuff, it's like American jingoism.
Is there actually? I'm not sure I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the proper term.
Yeah. I think that's the word. It's jingoism. So this game makes fun of American jingoism, where we just strut around. So instead, you're actually strutting around space and blowing up Russian satellites and Korean satellites and giving everybody the middle finger the entire time.
Sorry, Mika, I think the proper term for it is asshole.
It apparently is jingoism.
Yeah, it makes fun of that. So it's hilarious, and the art style, I think it's amazing. It's like this kind of sketchbook, comic book look, kind of watercolored, and it's super cool. So yeah, Freedom Finger is a pretty sweet game if you like offensive humor games. So it's pretty cool.
I didn't realize it was already out on the Switch. I thought it was still coming soon, so I'm gonna have to pick this up on the Switch. I've been looking forward to this. I don't know how I missed it.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, you should give it a look, and I think it's pretty groovy. I played it for a little while there, and it's funny, and I think it's got Bender's voice in it. That actor, Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah, John DiMaggio, Nolan North, Eric Bauza, and Sam Riegel.
Yeah,
what?
It's pretty good. So I don't know how they got all those guys, and I really like the music too. The music's got this crazy I don't know, what do you call it, stoner rock. Like it's kind of like Queens of the Stone Age, but like, not the most famous bands, but it's good. The soundtrack.
Animal Cannon is in the game. That's cool.
Yeah, and there's a lot of wacky jokes. I've only played about halfway through or 2/3, but there's some like. I don't know, just absurd Easter eggy kind of jokes in it. So I like that sort of stuff. So unfortunately, some of the shoot 'em up stuff still pisses me off near the end of the game. It's getting a little too like ridiculously hard. So I actually, stopped for a while. But the quality of the depth at which they go to make fun of things is amazing. Like I'm really impressed with that. When they commit to a joke and make a level out of an entire thing, it's pretty funny. So.
I like how I did a search. Why does this one look like a tampon? I did an image search because you were talking about the watercolor art style, and that had my attention because that's my shit. But that's not a tampon. That's a spermie. I get it now. Yeah. But I like how Google Images, like I typed in freedom finger, and like on the third row, there's literally a picture of somebody with the word freedom tattooed on their middle finger.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, so close yet so far away.
That's intense what I was looking for. When you name something like that and then you don't get the top spot on Google, right? Like, think about that indie game from original indie game times, like Braid. If that had popular, then
you weren't getting top spot for Braid.
Or like just a noun, So if it hadn't been popular, it would have been sunk. So it's funny. There was, I don't know. Okay, there's because I like shooters a lot. There's several offensive shooters that I have to bring up. There was a wacky one. I know this is going to be awful, you guys, if you start Googling it, but it was not a popular one. It was a small time one. I want to call it. It was something ridiculous, literally called Space Stick or something. Or I gotta look. But what was it called?
That seems like something I shouldn't Google search. I think if I search for Space Stick.
Like, I feel like that would be the most mundane thing I have searched.
Type game. I type shoot 'em up game after that. Okay. And you should be able to zero in on Space Stick or Space Dildo, or it was something ridiculous like that. And you literally just flying it wasn't like Space Cock, but it was it was like pixely looking, and it was hilarious. It was silly looking. There was that, and then there's this other British guy that makes the game like a real kind of wacky indie game guy, and I think he made a game called War Twat, which is hilarious.
War Twat.
Can I just take a moment to point out that I typed Space Dick Shoot 'em Up game, and I got Shoot One Up as the top spot.
Oh my god!
My gosh! Are you kidding me?
I'm telling you.
I did not engineer that. I wasn't trying to trick you. That's hilarious. I had no idea.
I'm so tickled by that turn of events.
I will pick this game up, but the name of this actual game, and I'll tell you guys at some point down the road. But the other game, yeah, I know we're going down a rabbit hole, but I will.
I know they have genital jousting. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
That's a recent one. I know that one's pretty crazy. You know what's crazy is piggy ball is not this offensive. Like I don't know why I'm hung up on offensive games, but I think these are kind of. I think they're like I kind of like wacky offensive games. So that's why let's see. Shoot them up. I can't remember who made that game.
Your next game is going to be super offensive.
I have some of those in line. I got thought of, but. No, there's one. It looks like there's a game called Dildos in Space, which is pretty funny, but it didn't look like anything. It looked like somebody tried to do a Kickstarter. That's not the one I was thinking of, though. Anyway, okay, we'll get off of that. If I think of it, I'll tell you guys. But
obviously, a popular genre, dick games in space.
I mean, I support it.
Jesus.
Could you imagine if we made a game that had and I made one of my little dicks wearing a costume and it was all space themed? That would have been hilarious.
The games are pretty, they're pretty fun to make now with Game Maker and Unity. You could just animate some stuff and throw it together.
The funny part of that is my daughter wants to be a game developer, but I wouldn't want her to make a game based off my dick drawings.
Yeah, you want to give her a little time on that one.
She's only 15 still. She doesn't know mom draws dicks in her spare time.
I'm not get into that yet. We can let her go to college and everything, and then decide.
And then hire her.
One day I'm gonna die, and my kids are gonna be going through all my sketchbooks.
That's awesome.
What the fuck was mom into?
She was so weird.
Why does this penis have a unicorn horn and a flower crown?
Do you remember the end of that movie? What was it called? Oh my gosh. Superbad. You remember that one?
Yes.
I've never
where they're all dick drawings.
There's only Nicole, you've never seen that movie?
Uh-uh.
Oh my gosh! Just for the dick drawings at the end, they had these liner notes, notepad drawings of all goofy penises. They're hilarious. It's like the credits.
Wow.
That's worth watching just on YouTube. You'd love it. But the movie itself's really funny too.
Yeah, they have the credits on YouTube, so you definitely have to find those and watch them.
I fully support penis art. There's not enough of it.
I've seen people talk about that on Twitter. That there should be more, kind of.
Penises get a bad rap for being ugly, but they don't have to be.
There you go. I mean, I'm not into them, but I'm open to if women want to do that, that's fine. So. Anyway.
Vagina art exists. Everybody's like, "Oh, look, a lovely vagina," and they should because vaginas are lovely too.
There you go. Who's the one?
We are not a family-friendly show.
No, not anywhere close to it.
You can tag it. What is that? Not safe for work. There you go. Yeah. Not safe for home. Not safe for kids.
Not safe for life.
Life, yes.
NSFL.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway, I know we've been chatting for a good while. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't bring up?
You mean besides space dicks? Really hoping for new space dick games. No, that's it. If you are not looking for a game about space dicks, but instead are looking for an action adventure game, that's actually fun. That uses unique gameplay. So this is the way I see it. I mean, you guys are at MagFest. I love arcade games. I love old arcade games. I love maze games and action puzzle games. So this Piggy Ball is supposed to be, imagine you had a whole bunch of action puzzle, old style arcade games, but instead they were all connected together in a big adventure. So it's not, they don't kick your butt constantly. You can just have fun. And that's the kind of game I made with this. It's got really good Metacritic scores. So if you guys are worried about anybody else is worried about reviews. I'm
pretty sure we gave it a buy it. I'm pretty sure.
You gave it a buy it? I mean, there you go. Your audience is down to it. Yeah. So I'm working on a secret project. But I'd love to talk about it, but the reason I don't is because it's you want it to make a splash when you start talking about it. So I think your crowd will be down for the new secret project too. If they liked any of my past run and gun shooting games, or if you like Contra or anything like that, that's kind of the new thing I'm working on, but it's too early to talk about yet. So I'm just talking about promoting Piggy Ball, and I'm trying to push other people's cool games when I find them.
Nice.
There's a dollar game. I'll give another shout out to a game called BioLab Wars. It's a name. It's fine. BioLab Wars. It's $1. It's on Steam. I think the guy's bringing it to Switch. I think he's Brazilian, Portuguese. It's pretty okay. It's $1. And I played it for a little while, and I enjoy it. Like it's like a lo-fi. I know it sounds weird. A lo-fi Contra. It's like Contra, but you stick it sort of in Shadow of the Ninja or Ninja Gaiden cityscapes, and it's not as intense as Contra. The bosses are not as amazing. Like they're only okay, but it's pretty playable. You know, I kind of you scratch that itch. So
we have a category for games like that when they're like super cheap, and even though they may not like stand out or break the mold, but they're still decent and worth playing. We just say fuck it, why not?
Fuck it, why not? I would put fuck it, why not on this game. You know, BioLab Wars $1. Yes, like I bought it. I was happy with it, and I actually talked to the guy, and he's super responsive. And I complained about some things as another developer, and I said there's a thing in development in platformers called a jump buffer. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is if you run off the ledge and for a split second you press the jump button, but it didn't register it, I hate that. It drives me nuts because, you know what I mean? Like I just barely missed the jump.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Just a suggestion. Think about it. Throw in a jump buffer, you know, if you think it would benefit. And I think you did. And I actually played it, and it's better because now I don't notice it. It's one of those things where when it's not in there, I'm just dying. I'm like, what the? I made the jump. You know what I mean? And you fall off the ledge. You're like, screw this game. So I suggested it, and he actually put it into an update, and it'll be in the Switch version. And yeah, it's good. And now you don't even notice. You're just like, yeah, it's fun. Who cares? So, but yeah, that's a good one. And yeah, so I'm trying to actually play some games. I started playing Unruly Heroes. That was a good one on PS4.
That was pretty fun. Yeah.
Pretty looking game. Really chaotic. I can't tell what the hell's going on, but I'm playing with my kids and very pretty looking. So I just like a lot of platformers that are running, 2D games like that.
I would say a Graveyard Keeper to your list to play, but make sure you have like 700 hours to throw at it.
That's what I don't have.
Because it's like if you've played Stardew Valley. Everybody knows what Stardew. Yeah. It's the same concept, but very morbid.
It's pretty cool. That sounds cool. I don't have the time to play it, but I love the idea of having to explain myself to everybody when I sound crazy like that. People, corpses, and stuff.
Oh my God. Well, anyway, Nathan, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. We have to do this again sometime when we have more time. Our show is going to go insanely long the way it is. I hate rushing you off the show, but we have two other guys who are just they're waiting to come on and chat with us. And
I am sorry, I did not mean to take so long.
Oh, I'm not. I warned you before it happened. You're like, oh, we'll just have a really quick discussion. I said people have said that before. We warned you. Yeah. We warned you.
It's 95% my fault.
Don't get us started on obscure, gross games or anything like that. So, yeah.
Next episode, cool. We're going to have to get you back for another episode, and next time you're on, we'll talk more about Space Sticks.
I'm going to find the name of that game. All right. It was good to talk to you guys. And everybody play Pig Eat Ball on any console you want, except for the Ouya. I'm sorry to all you Ouya fans out there. But otherwise, it's out on everything else if you play the Switch. Okay, I'm out.
Ball squad, shoot for the skill shot, it's a house ball. Ball squad, shoot the green like a mock shack fly. Mike is the simulator, Mel is the zen. Show with the milky voice, Stemage the U-Buffet. Ball squad, with a ball squad.
All right, we are back. Cole, you're still here. How's it going?
I'm fine. I'm being used as a chew toy at the moment.
That's wonderful. We are being joined by two fantastic guests right now. Tim Ekkebus, Grant Henry. How are you two doing?
Good.
Fantastic.
I didn't know which one was going to answer first.
I thought about that.
Like a roll of
yeah.
the die.
He said Tim first. I'm like, I'm just gonna wait like 3.5 seconds. And I think we did good. High five, Tim.
We did all right. Yeah, nice.
Bam. We're in the same room.
You guys are goobers.
2 different computers.
Yeah. Just what is it, like a 3,000 mile long LAN cable you're using?
Yeah, they're expensive. They're expensive, but worth it.
I ended it myself, though.
Amazon got it fairly cheap. They had a sale.
Gotta get rid of that latency, dog.
Prime Day.
Oh, my Lord. So how are you guys doing? Welcome back to the show. Tim, always good having you on. Grant, it's been a while. We miss you.
I guess it's been a spell. I can't remember. What was the last thing we talked about when I was on? I'm trying to remember.
I mean, I was on Tuesday. It hasn't been that long.
Yeah. Tim, you were a last minute addition. I told you what we were going to be talking about on this episode, and you're like, I fucking want in.
Yeah. I'll bitch about what we're going to bitch about. I'm into bitch.
I'm going to bitch so hard.
Yeah, I learned about
I'm
this.
sorry.
I learned about this today, so I've done some quick reading, so I'm up to speed. So,
well, let's dive right into things. The news of the week, the top thing that we have to discuss tonight is that Polygon has released a list of their top 100 games of the decade, and the results are a little bit on the interesting side. I wrote down the top 10. Should we just read off the top 10 in order and then discuss everything, or do you guys want to bring up some of the other games first?
Well, I guess the thing I want to bring up first is that the decade's not over yet. That, I think, bears observation in the presenting of this list is that it is November.
Yes.
And there are 2 months of games left in the decade.
Mm-hmm.
Is
That's
anything
the first
really
list
good
is
coming out, though,
garbage.
still?
I mean, I don't know. We'll find out. You never know. There's I feel like there's always some sneaky last minute indie release that
just steals everybody's
misses the
heart
cut for Game of the Year stuff because all the Jan publications start their Game of the Year stuff in the beginning of December, and then they miss stuff in mid to late December. That's when Talos Principle came out. It was middle of December.
Not in the Woods
weird.
was a late November, early December release too, and I will get to my thoughts on that.
Jumanji the game is out next week, so
Exactly.
they're forgetting that.
Yeah, but I mean, was it a couple years ago, and Last Guardian and Final Fantasy 15 both came out after Thanksgiving, 2 fairly large games.
Yeah.
So you never know. You never know.
Let me check my video game release list and see what's coming up.
Jedi Fallen Order and Pillars of Eternity 2 are both coming out still before the end of the year, but Pillars has been on other.
That's been out.
That's been on Steam.
And Pokemon,
that's just in console.
New Pokemon game.
Yeah, new Pokemans.
That's big news in this house where my child is very into Pokemon.
I've never been huge into the Pokemons, but Pokemon is part of the top 10 list. Not one of the Pokemons you would expect. But yeah, let's go over the top 10.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And then we'll discuss from there. The number 10 game on the list. Again, this is top 100 games of the entire decade. Number 10.
2010 through 2019 as designated by Polygon.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So number 10 is Fortnite Battle Royale.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of a huge game.
It is a huge game, but is it one of the best? It feels more like a meme at this point than anything.
I mean, a lot of people play that game. They're just not crusty old people like us.
I will say that Fortnite, the way that they change with the seasons and stuff, they do a good job at it. And the events that they put into it, they give it some effort. The whole black hole event was some bullshit. But most of their event launches are really well done, regardless of how you actually feel about the game. And I don't think I'm shy about the fact that I'm not a Fortnite fan.
Yeah,
but
I think it's kind of hard to separate the whole, best game or wonderful game against just the fact that a game is a phenomenon. You know what I mean? I don't know. I can't speak about Fortnite, right? I haven't played it. I hear it's a little obtuse, but the kids love it, right? It's huge. It's the biggest game in the world. So I don't know. But then again, I start looking at the 11 and on, and I'm like, I don't even know what I would stick on up in the top 10 in its place, because this whole list is kind of strange. I don't know.
That's the thing too. Like, I know what I would have put on the list instead, but I'm not necessarily sure where I would have put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, making a list is never easy to do, especially when there's 100 spots. Next game on the list, I think, deserves its spot. Maybe it should be a little higher, but The Witcher 3 is number 9.
Yeah, that belongs here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No argument from this guy. Higher, if anything else, but that game is fantastic.
Goddamn right. Number 8 is Dark Souls. Another game I think deserves a good spot on the list. Maybe not this high, but...
You're right. It should be higher. You're right.
No, I don't think. I think Dark Souls 2 does kind of fall into the line of it's a phenomenon and a meme, more so than something people actually play.
Which is a great segue into the next game, I think.
I know there's people who really dig into Dark Souls. There's always the games done quick speedrunners and stuff, and it has its community, but I mean, that's the same thing we said about Fortnite. It has its community, but is it really something everybody's into?
Well, these aren't most popular games. These are the best games.
I will. Fortnite is the Dark Souls of Fortnite.
You heard it here first.
Jesus Christ.
I love Dark Souls. That might be like number one for me for the decade, honestly. But I
feel like when people talk about Dark Souls, they speak about it like the way you're speaking about it. They're not. When people talk about Fortnite, it sounds more like an addiction. Nope. With Dark Souls, there's like this passion. It's the same with Witcher. The guys I know that are into Dark Souls are just so very into Dark Souls, and it really did start something new. Mm-hmm. Which I guess I don't know. Fortnite, I guess you could say maybe did too. I don't know.
Well, something else started something new, and then Fortnite took it.
Yeah, there you go.
I will also say that Dark Souls is absolutely an addiction. Just talking to other people that played, Dark Souls or whenever they got into them, like we keep chasing that high of like the first one you played, of like that level of difficulty and discovery. Which is why people that are into Souls games, like they hear the word Souls like, and they pounce upon those games because they're trying to get high. We're all junkies, just like looking for that experience.
Speaking of an experience, the number 7 game on the list, not even a full game, a fucking demo, PT.
Not even something one can play. Yeah, PT.
Yeah.
Why? It's like, again, if this had not gotten removed from the PS4. This would not be on this list. It wouldn't be on this list. Like, and that's just that. Okay, that's all. That's all I'm gonna say
if Silent Hills came out, we wouldn't be talking about PT anymore.
Yeah, PT's cool, but
it's cool. But is it the number 7 game of the decade? No, I don't think so at all. Maybe if it were in like the 90s or something, I could see it being on the list. But
when we talk about the rest of the list, this is going to make more sense. But I said this. Just about all of them in general. Whoever wrote this list clearly had a hard-on for Kojima. And that's pretty much a big element of what led to PT being in the top 10. The drama and the hype around it, and that it's got a Kojima name tag to it.
Yeah.
I can't even speak to it because it was deleted off the PlayStation Store before I owned a PlayStation 4. I can see it in my library. It won't download.
There is a way you can get around that.
Oh, yeah? Well, we don't have to unfold that. I don't really want... I don't actually fucking want to play this game, let me be clear. I don't have knickers big enough to accommodate that shit. But, yeah, I've seen enough about it. It is fascinating and interesting. It is an interesting choice to place this high on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a confusing pick.
It's amazing. It's beautiful and it's polished and it's terrifying and it's a complete thought and whatever. But it's just an interesting. It's just such a weird thing to see in the top 10.
No.
I could see it to be one person's big number 1 on the staff for Polygon, but the fact that it's actually on this list is strange. But
let alone this high.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me no other horror game in the last 5 years has been
10.
More complete and more ideal of a horror game.
Yeah.
I mean, and I only said last 5 because that's just since PT. Like, if PT is your benchmark, you're gonna tell me nothing else has come out in the last 5 years to top that? Nothing.
Speaking of games that haven't come out in the past 10 years, what about League of Legends at number 6?
Literally came out in 2009.
What the fuck?
That's all that baffles me about it. Like, I mean, sure, League of Legends, it's very popular, but it came out in
2009. Like, how is it on this list? It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Well, like, some of my criticism of this list is I feel like it veers more towards like most influential games of the 2010s.
Yeah.
And not like best games actually released. So that's when, you think of like PT, like that could be looked at, I guess, as influential. It caused a conversation, but is the best. League of Legends was certainly very influential in the 2010s and creating this huge esports scene, but it literally came out in 2009. Dota 2 came out in 2013. That is not in the top 100.
Oh, wow. Is it not?
It is not.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Which I don't play Dota, but I'm like, I mean, it seems very big.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of games that are big, number 5, Pokemon Go.
Number 5. Number
5. Best game of the decade is Pokemon Go?
Above League of Legends, even. Above Dark Souls. It's like, why not number 10? I don't know. It's fine.
Again, it changed things and it was maybe inspirational and it had its moment, but it just does not deserve to be.
No.
It's not the best.
As someone who recently, I guess back in the spring, I played Pokemon Go when it broke out that summer, like everybody did, when the game was an absolute fucking mess, an absolute disaster that first summer it was out. Like, that thing barely functioned. I got back into it in the spring because my wife started playing it, and I'll still say, it is not really that great a game. Like, if it weren't for the Pokemon license, I would not care about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still just janky and kind of dumb. Like, they've done a lot to improve it, but to consider it the 5th best game of the 2010s is quite a stretch.
I'm gonna throw a little bit of shade here, but as somebody that lives in a rural area, when your game isn't even flat out fucking playable because you live in the hills, like, at least with Fortnite, I can load that fucker up and it doesn't care that I live at the top of a hill.
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon Go won't even install.
just like, why are you bothering?
No. You're literally the only person for 40 miles. No.
You hit install and the middle finger just pops up.
Gotta take a road trip to get to one Pokestop. Walk around the woods if you want to find yourself a Pidgey.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Anyway, number 4 on the list. I can't really talk on this one because I've never played it, but Kentucky Route Zero.
It's good.
It's
really good.
Very good. It's
quite
real good. It's not done yet. The final episode is yet to come out.
Yeah.
Which is weird when it comes to talking about Kentucky Route Zero at like end of the year time every year that an episode has come out. But man, Kentucky Route Zero is really good. I just thirst for the rest of it.
I really want to play it, particularly because I live in the area that it covers. I've actually been to the cave system that's in the game. I'm that close to it. Nice. Like, we used to take field trips there, and so it's a thing. And like, I always see it, I'm like, I want to play that so bad, and then it just falls off of my radar.
What kind of game is it?
It's like it's an adventure game.
It is an adventure game. It's not as I don't think it's quite as it's not quite as hardcore puzzly as some traditional
absolutely not
adventure games. It's more of an experience. I've heard, I was reading this list and they use the word Lynchian for some of the stuff, and I can see that. It's got this kind of, it's very stylish. It's got some funny storytelling elements to it. It's just sort of an experience. It's kind of scary and creepy, but not in the way that it's like in a horror way. It's just a little unnerving.
It's like got a really surreal, like folk Americana weirdness to it.
Yep. If you look at that screenshot in the article, that's a pretty good capture.
It's not surreal. That's exactly what it looks like around here.
Yeah, but then the game goes some places. Yeah. It goes some places.
I have read that you actually go into the cave systems and stuff, and
if you go into the cave system, there is definitely some supernatural elements to it, and it's a really cool game. Like, I am glad it got recognized. I mean, one could debate whether it belongs at number 4 when the series isn't 100% complete. What if it comes out? It could come out in the next 2 months. Who knows? Then what would you think?
And what happens if it's got a garbage ending?
Yeah. Just a trash ending. It's like, that would be so sad.
They issue a correction.
We've never seen an episodic game go bad at the last episode.
Never. No.
What is it?
That doesn't happen.
What is it? Episode 4 cursed? Did I always say it? Like episode 4 was the garbage one, or was it 3?
I don't remember.
I haven't played an episodic game in a while. Like, there's always one midway episode, either 3 or 4, that just takes a shit, and then like the rest of the season is trying to salvage it.
You know the guys who made this game woke up this morning and read this article and were like, guys, we should probably stick this landing. No pressure.
Back to the drawing board. This ending isn't gonna do.
Oh my lord. Anyway, number 3, great game. I love the game. I don't know if it's the 3rd best game of the decade. Splunky.
They also used a screenshot of like the web-based version that came out in 2008. Which
that's pretty funny.
I'm like, okay, guys. Some people really like Spelunky. It didn't catch on with me, is I guess all I'll really say, but I know some people adore it.
I just don't know if it's the 3rd best game of the decade. Like number 3. And again, you mentioned the web-based version was 2008.
Yeah. It's just weird they didn't use a screenshot of the remake that came out in 2012.
That would make sense. With the rest of the way this list is garbage.
Yeah.
That seems like their most minor fuck up.
True.
Oh man, Lord of Night raiding us with a couple viewers. Sorry that you're here. My condolences.
Hey, welcome.
Thanks for coming. We're not going to be mad if you turn it off now.
Number 2 on the list. This one I agree with. Finally, a game on this list I agree with. Number 2, best game of the decade, Breath of the Wild. God damn right. That game is fucking incredible.
Yep,
I haven't played it. I can see it being a good one. I don't know that it's second best of the decade good, but
it really is. It's an incredible game.
I think it would be hard to argue that it's not in like at least the top 3. I guess you don't know, but
yeah. My extent of it is just watching people play it, and there were a few mechanics in it that I was like, let's maybe not. But I can see where the rest of it is enjoyable.
It's amazing. I don't think that I'm surprised the game works at all. I don't like. Fair. I'm not a big fan of the Skyrim kind of formula. Like they're really good at Nintendo's really good at sort of grabbing mechanics and themes from other games and incorporating it and sort of Nintendoizing it, like making their own RPG and making and then they sort of, I don't know. I was completely enamored with this game and surprised it worked. Like, how do you test something like this? It's really good. It's like, it's not my, I don't know if it's my, it's so different than a normal Zelda game. Like, I feel like Link Between Worlds didn't get any love in this top 100, but I feel like it's a
zero love.
Top like 3 or 4 Zelda game for me, maybe, like in terms of the traditional Zelda game.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a really great game, so can't complain.
Yeah, I was glued to my brand new Nintendo Switch for 2 weeks playing this game, which was hard when my child was, I don't know, 1.5, 2.5, something like that. Still very young. Like any spare moment I had, I was looking at my Switch, like trying to beat a shrine or just tooling around, exploring the world. Like, I don't think I've ever poured that many hours into a game so fast. I just couldn't put it down.
Yeah. I accidentally beat it, and it's kind of a bummer because I accidentally was just like, I'll just check out the castle and come back later. And then I accidentally I hit a gust and then walked into the final fight and oops, and then beat it, and then was gonna go back when the DLC came out and never did, and it's too bad. It sort of fell off, but. The only other thing I'll say about it is it's really strange. Polygon seems big on their stories. I thought The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, the one thing I'll say about it is it had the worst trash, awful story of any Zelda game that has ever come out. And the Zelda character was like this. The character was just the worst example of Zelda they have ever put in any of their games. She was so weak.
You realize they had games on the CDI, right?
Sure. Yes.
Those don't count.
Paid money. Someone paid money. But it's just like it was just the worst ending. It was just terrible. But someone's like, I don't know. But I guess when it comes down to it, that's what no one ever talks about. That it didn't really need the story because it's just such a mechanically sound and fun experience. But number 2, that's fine. Definitely top 10 for me, I think. But I don't know. I need to make my list now. Like this is my gear.
We have to counter their list.
You know?
Yeah. Totally. The SML top 10 games of the decade.
Top 100. We got to do all 100.
No, we're not doing 100. Fuck that.
Oh, yeah, we are. We already do 5-hour episodes anyway, so fuck it, let's go.
Yeah. We can just fill the bottom 75 with shit. That's what they did. Come on.
Yeah.
Just dump some games in there. They'll land somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, I literally can't wait to talk about the ones they left off the list.
I mean, I love Virginia. It was cool. It was like Twin Peaks, but polygonal. You're not going to put Link Between Worlds on there, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Right on. Listicles are hard.
Number one.
I can agree that this belongs on the list. I'm not sure about number 1, just because it's not my kind of game, but I don't have a problem with it being there. Number 1 is Minecraft.
Yep.
Is it only 10 years old?
2011.
Actually, released, formally released. Yeah, and it was out in like beta form before then, but it did not officially release until the 2010s.
Gotcha. Crazy.
Seems like a big deal. I have actually never played Minecraft, but I get it.
I think
Awesome Prime says his number 1 game of the 10 years, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, that's a lot of people enjoy that, and they do stuff in that game. I every time I feel like every couple of weeks I learn about some weird mod or something that's in that game.
Well, they
didn't
put Grand Theft Auto 5 on this list. They put GTA Online on this list.
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's probably correct, really. I mean, GTA 5 ain't shit. But I think it's worth noting that they have a most important games of the decade article, and Minecraft is listed as the most important game, which kind of ties into is this list more influential or best?
Actual best,
yeah.
And Khalil says Last of Us is better than Breath of the Wild. That's a tough one. That's a tough call between Last of Us and Breath of the Wild.
Where was Last of Us on this list? Was it even on there?
It's like 50-something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Skyrim was really far down, too.
That was actually 50, I believe.
Death Stranding was number 53.
Yeah, how the fuck
Really?
a game that's not even out? A game that's not out is on
reviewers
the
have
list.
had it for a while now, so some opinions have formed, I guess.
And it's not universal praise for the game either, so for it to be number 53 on the best of the decade when it's not out and it has
really liked it.
Some mixed reviews.
Metal Gear Solid 5 was also on here, which no. And that's why I said with regards to PT that whoever put this list together just really had a hard on for Kojima and like just packed it.
There was only 3 things to put on there from him. They're all on there.
All 3 on there. And that's just, come on.
Well, they could have put Ground Zeroes on there too.
Oh, true. Metal Gear Solid 5 is a very fun game with a lot of creativity in it. I have nothing to say about the other 2, having not played them. But
when you stop and you, I will give them credit for one thing, because I'm going to bitch about all the things that come out this last 10 years that were so good that could have been on the list. I will give them credit that the list was pretty heavily packed with indies. And that there were more indies on there than I expected, because there was, they were granted far lower than they should have been. But it did have Life is Strange. What Remains of Edith Finch, I think, was on there, and some in that regard. I would like to give them points for putting mobile games on there, if it weren't for the fact that it was the fucking Kardashian game.
Florence is on there. That was
Florence is on there.
Yeah.
But I mean,
well, there's some other mobile games on there that should not be.
When we stop and look at the kind of Night in the Woods is not on there. I don't think there was a single Call of Duty on there.
That's probably
no, but
fine.
like FIFA 17 was on there.
Yeah,
good sports game.
But look, you can say you don't like Call of Duty, but to deny that it has just dominated the last decade in first person shooters.
I don't know. It's kind of been falling off, really.
Like the last 3 years or so. But Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3 came out. Black Ops was the fourth best selling game on Xbox 360. It was only overshadowed by like Halo and the games that came out with the Kinect. and what was the other one? There was one other one, Minecraft, I think, was the other one that topped it. And again, Minecraft came with every damn console, so if you didn't have Minecraft, what were you doing? But to leave, even if you're going to say, oh, it's not that great, the last few have not been so good, look back at Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, the original Black Ops, and how they shaped.
Well, Modern Warfare 2 was 2009, I guess I'll say.
Okay, but they had other games on there from 2009.
Yeah. They shouldn't have.
But I mean, they're going to break
Black
the rules
Ops is
for
probably
some.
the best Call of Duty that would qualify for the list. And that was 2010. I felt like Modern Warfare 3 was a step back, so
it was definitely better than Infinite Warfare. but I mean, how do you ignore if you're going to say games that are influential or are experiences or change the industry in some way, and they're really going to leave off Call of Duty?
Yeah, I think so.
Completely.
I feel like
I think so.
They went in like they took the Playdead games Limbo and Inside.
Yeah,
and put them together.
So they could have just put the Call of Duty franchise.
That's what I'm saying. It's super insulting to have your games lumped into like the silhouette game, those silhouette 2D platformers.
Yeah,
they're basically the same thing. Wait, what? No.
Yeah, but so like they could have the Red Dead Redemption.
That was bizarre.
Yeah.
So they could have they should Call of Duty is probably the most fine-tuned controller-based first-person shooter ever made. It's fast-paced. Like, give it some credit. Like put it above Flappy Bird. Did you guys know Resident Evil?
Why the fuck is Flappy Bird on this fucking list to begin with?
Flappy Bird is better than Resident Evil 7. They should have just titled the article that. They would have gotten way more clicks.
Yeah, basically.
Kim Kardashian is better than Control. I just want to let you know.
Okay, so things. So the Red Dead Redemption entry like weirded me out because they're kind of like, yeah, Red Dead Redemption 1 was great and Red Dead Redemption 2 was kind of boring. Okay. Like, that was a really just the write-up for it. Like, I get why you would put Red Dead on this list. I don't know why you'd give both of them the same spot on the list. But they didn't really have anything great to say about Red Dead Redemption 2, which I was like, wait, you're like, this is 35. That's pretty high on your list. And you're just kind of like, eh? That was weird.
Yeah, what other games are you surprised to see on the list?
Control.
And
I'm not going to say in any way that Control narratively was bad. It was an incredible story, an incredible experience. It was really, done well for what it was in that regard. But the way that it was buggy as shit and played like garbage everywhere, I don't know how it got put on a list over top of literally anything else.
Because they probably reviewed it on an X.
It was still had its issues on an X for some
not that bad.
But not as bad. But I mean, even PC players had issues with it.
Yeah, I heard the PC port wasn't good. Like, the X was the best way to play it.
The 1S was just...
Yeah.
I when I played it, I literally had cutscenes I didn't realize were broken until I watched somebody playing it on an X, and then I was like, "Oh, that was broken for me. that didn't behave properly."
If I can give some props to the list, just a few props. I thought it was nice that they ranked Titanfall 2 so high because that game gets overlooked a lot.
It does.
Because of and that game had an awesome campaign and some really good multiplayer, and it just kind of got thrown to the wayside. Obra Dinn, which I just reviewed for this very podcast, was like number 12, and that deserved to be very high. That game is awesome.
Tetris Effect was in the 30s. That was pretty good.
That was pretty
nice
good.
That high.
Some backhanded props. I appreciated that The Last of Us and Undertale were in the 50s because I don't care for those games as much as many people seem to. I was like, no, that's about where they belong. You can be up there in the 50s. That's fine.
I was pleasantly surprised to see Sea of Thieves on the list at all.
At all. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the top 50.
I think it deserved its spot. Sea of Thieves gets a lot of grief, but there's a lot to be said for create your own adventure type games, and there's not a lot of them because they tend to get so much bullshit. But
I will say, from a Microsoft stance, that they have Sea of Thieves there and none of the Forza Horizon games, I think is a slap in the face.
Are there any racing games?
No.
Mario
I don't
Kart
think
8.
so.
Mario Kart.
Yeah, I'm glad that's on there. That's kind of a best of.
It's a hell of a Mario Kart. Best Mario Kart, really.
Can we talk about No Man's Sky?
Yeah, I was actually just about to bring that up.
Fucking
why? Right above Sea of Thieves and kind of like the games that got better over time slot. But I was like, wow, really? Like 48 for No Man's Sky. Did it really get that good? I don't think it...
I reviewed it when it
got way better. Let's be sure, but it was coming from a bad place.
You can polish a turd, but it's still polish it.
It's a whole different. I mean, to be fair, it's a whole different game now.
Fair.
Like it is a. To be fair, it's a whole different. It's a whole different thing. I mean, it doesn't even play the same way anymore. So I don't. You know, I put 20 hours into it when it came out and was like, this is amazing. Can't believe I'm going nowhere. I'm just going to put it away and come back to it later. And it really is something else. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's happened to Sea of. I remember hearing people bitching about Sea of Thieves 2, and apparently they've made good. So that's awesome. But it's definitely No Man's Sky. Definitely the same thing. The base building and the multiplayer stuff and the third person and the vehicles and you can crash into mountains now. It's great.
Sweet.
It's a step up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's cool to see it on there, but I'm glad it's not like, sub 50. What is it actually? Is it under 50?
48.
Right?
48. Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. It made it. It's squoze in there.
One slot above Sea of Thieves.
Sea of Thieves was 49 and No Man's Sky was 48.
I was happy to see Journey in the top 20 because I feel like that it's a game that just gets forgotten, and I thought it was a pretty important game to me, so I'm glad to see that high. I feel like you just kind of forget about the old indies, the old guard of indies. I don't know when that came out, but that was a while ago, right?
It first came out on PS3. I bet you it's right.
Yeah.
2010 or shortly thereafter.
Probably. Strange to see Mario 3D World on here and under 15, but no. What the hell was the new one called?
No Odyssey.
Yeah, no Odyssey.
No Galaxy 2 on here. I get it that I kind of felt like it seemed like they didn't want to load up the list with too many entries from a particular franchise.
Sure.
But by doing that, you leave out Mario Galaxy 2 and Mario Odyssey, which are both fantastic, and you leave out A Link Between Worlds, which is extremely fantastic. I feel like that was a deliberate choice. Like, okay, we're just going to take the best game from a series and throw it up there, and that's the spot it gets.
Yet Kojima gets 3 fucking spots.
Well, they're different series. That doesn't say they should have just put Kojima under one umbrella.
They should have. They really should. I still can't believe PUBG is number 11.
Man, that game fucking sucks. No, I don't think it should be 11. Like that, I know it started the battle royale phenomenon, but it never came together for me. Like I played a lot of it in early access, and then the game was actually formally released, and there's just so many problems with it that never got addressed, such that, 4 or 5 months after it was released, they had a website up called fixpubg.com with a roadmap of how they were going to fix the game. And I'm like, no. That's what you do before you release the game, guys. So, like, in spite of, like, basically the genre it created and the revolution in shooting that it made, like, the game still just, like, pisses me off because it is so buggy and so janky that like in spite of, it was fun in spite of itself, but I really don't feel like it should be that high. And it's like that and Fortnite are 11 and 10. It's just like,
Yeah, that didn't need to happen at all.
Yeah, feel like maybe if you wanted to throw anything into the same slot with each other, those two are like, they were more inseparable 2 years ago, but not so much anymore. And Apex didn't make the list.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised about that.
And Apex I like better than either of those games.
Khalil asking about Overwatch. That hit number 19.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been higher in my opinion, but I get it. I mean, I'm a huge Overwatch dude. I play that game a shitload, so top 20, sure.
I was surprised there was no Smash Brothers.
Yeah, Smash on there.
That's a good point. That's really surprising, actually.
PT gets a spot. Flappy Bird gets a spot. No Smash.
Fucking Flappy Bird.
Fucking Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird was a phenomenon for like a month, and because it was a bad game that people were strangely drawn to. It is not actually of good quality, and yet it is not only on the list, it is not 100 on the list. It is 84 or whatever it is. Like, man, you know what didn't make the list? Shovel Knight.
That's a shame. That is a damn shame.
Anyone here ever play the Swapper?
I played the Swapper.
That was a good game.
It's a pretty damn
I
good
think I
game.
have it, but I
loved
haven't played it.
See, again, it's like I have my games. I have my Rogue Legacy, my Mark of the Ninja.
I put Mark of the Ninja down as something that should have been on here.
Jeez, it's just, I don't know. I've got my list.
Yeah,
but whatever.
I mean,
it's not the same. I feel like it's not like, I don't know. I think you can say this about celebrities. They have sort of a responsibility for certain things. And Polygon, you could say they have a responsibility to do their listicles in a maybe a slightly more, I don't know, communal way, right? I mean, like a lot of the people that are on their staff now, a lot of people have exited, and the rest were 10 years ago were 13. So it's like, I don't know. I don't want to discount everyone's opinion, but maybe like, is there a way to pull in, Giant Bomb when it comes to the end of the year, they get all kinds of people across the industry to build their top 10 lists to make them a part of the conversation. I would have loved to have seen with the clout Polygon has sort of an industry look at what the top 100 could be. You know, like sort of take that responsibility on. And again, like you only have so many people on staff. This is what happens, but I don't know what you guys think, but like, listicles are funny. In that way. But it is time for that. I mean, the decade's over. The decade's over. It's time for lists like this, right? Mm-hmm. So, what's the right way to attempt to curate it? I don't know. Whatever you got to do to get Flappy Bird off there is just.
That's really number. Let's get Flappy Bird off.
If it's
Flappy
on there,
Bird's on there, but no Rock Band love either.
Yeah.
If Flappy Bird's on your list, you didn't carry the one or something. You did it wrong. I don't know.
Cole, how mad are you that Slay the Spire is only number 98?
I was relieved it was on there at all.
That's crazy.
I gotta play that.
But can I also point out that if we're going to talk about games I love in a top 100 list, why is there no Flame in the Flood? How in the fuck do you miss the Flame in the Flood?
How have I not heard of that game?
I've heard of it.
God,
I see it on sale all the time. I haven't played it.
The Flame in the Flood is probably in my top 5 ever.
I'll look it up just for you. Yeah. I'm in.
It's on Game Pass.
Don't have that? Maybe I'll get it.
Sign up for $1 for your first month, and this. Why does it always turn into a Game Pass ad? You can play it for $1.
I mean, it's hard not to want to have that thing. It's worth it. Like, geez,
Game Pass is so fucking worth it.
Yeah, I mean, you could be playing the Outer Worlds. I got some people to sign up for Game Pass because I was like, you could just play the Outer Worlds. You don't have to spend $60 on it. You just play it. Couple other things that were stuck in my craw that were missing was Dead Cells, for one. I was kind of shocked that didn't show up. And for me, like Hearthstone, like I play a ton of Hearthstone.
Wow, how did Hearthstone not make it on there?
Yeah, Hearthstone's not on there at all.
Well, they name dropped it in Slay the Spire. They said Hearthstone bred frustration in players for over 5 years with its deck building complexities, but Slay the Spire offered a perfect, safe place to learn how to build a deck on your own.
Let's just broad brush this year. Let's get out the broadest brush we have.
Basically.
Yeah.
Hearthstone, we created nothing but agony. No, I'm not saying that Slay the Spire shouldn't be on. I'm saying that Hearthstone should also.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I haven't even played Hearthstone, and I could see. I was shocked it wasn't on there.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Can I just point out that there's, besides PT, there's a dramatic shortage of horror games. And Resident Evil. Resident Evil's on there. But
Resident Evil 7 is, not Resident Evil 2. But 7 is.
Yes.
I guess if you're going to put one or the other. Yeah.
There's like, what about Outlast and Layers of Fear? How did we miss all these incredible games that just...
Was Ori on there?
Ori was not on there.
Nope.
No. Damn. I will point out, though, that Paste had Ori on their list of top 100 for the decade.
Yeah.
So, another one.
Shocking nobody, there wasn't a lot of Xbox love on there at all.
No. Spec Ops The Line was another one.
I was just about to say Spec Ops The Line.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but Paste did have it on theirs.
Yeah, Spec Ops The Line is so cool. I really wish that had been on there. Yeah, I have a few others written down that I feel like could have gotten some attention, but, it becomes here nor there at some point. It's just like, personal favorites.
Arkham City came out in 2011. That was the best Batman game.
It is the best Batman game. Yeah,
I'm just gonna look through some stuff here.
And Marvel's Spider-Man didn't make it on. I'm kind of, I guess, not surprised about that. I guess that'll probably vary more by the publication that does the list, but I really liked it. Yeah, I'm not saying it would have been top shit in my world, but it's a good game. No Crypt of the Necrodancer. I love that game. I feel like it could have been on there somewhere, but
Trials Evolution. Damn. No, I'm just kidding. That's in my list.
Yeah, no Trials on there. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So many games and series just not represented on the list. I think it's just overall a terrible top 100 list.
I think like probably okay. I think probably 75% of the games on the list probably should be on there. Maybe not in the order they are, but like there's a lot of games on there. I'm like, okay, this should definitely be on the top 100. And especially when I was looking through the top 25, it was until you get to the top 10, there, Rocket League and Stardew Valley, like Persona 4 Golden, I thought was kind of an odd choice given that it was a remake of Persona 4. But sure, no, it's a great game. Nier, just like a ton of really great games that it's tough to really say like, oh no, that should be lower. Like, no, those were awesome games. Those were like decade-defining games. So they're just their presence on the list, a lot got right. I was happy to see Dishonored 2 so high. I feel like nobody really talks about that game, but maybe that's just me.
Hellblade wasn't on the list either.
Hellblade was not on the damn list.
Like, what kind of games are they playing over there?
Flappy Bird.
They're playing so much Flappy Bird, the game of our times.
Doki Doki Literature Club, top 100. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just watch it on YouTube.
So yeah, I mean, there'll be a lot more of these lists hitting over the course of the next 6 months, I'm sure.
Oh God,
as other publications get around to doing it, perhaps after the decade is actually over with.
And lucky for our listeners, all four of us are going to reconvene weekly to discuss every list that comes out.
Okay. Yep.
So what's the process for building? If I want to make my list, I need to go through my purchase history on all of my platforms and make lists of games, and then because I don't know what the frick I bought in the last 10 years, I probably didn't sell a game. If I sold a game, which I've sold a lot in the last 10 years, I probably didn't sell one that is in a top 10 of the decade, right? Probably, maybe,
probably not.
I don't know, probably not. So I'll have to, because I'm really, I don't know. I like making lists for myself. Maybe I'll see if I'll come up with my weirdo list.
Yeah, we'll do our top 10 of the decade,
and then we can all freaking argue. We'll get back on and tell each other that our lists are terrible.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Grant.
Right.
Call of Duty is top 10, and I will block whoever says otherwise.
All right. Well, it was nice talking to you. I feel like Cuphead should have been way higher than 95.
Oh God, yeah.
Like for the art alone, that was something that was stuck in my craw a bit there. But yeah. Fortunately, I have been doing end of the year award shows on my other podcast for over a decade now, so I actually still have all the Google Docs with all my top games, so I could comb through those to find what I was into in a particular year.
Cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, that's the list. Should we discuss the rest of the news, or what were you guys doing?
While we're here, I suppose we should.
Might as well. There were rumors going around this week that Microsoft was looking to acquire Playtonic Games, but Playtonic has since come out saying that they are not being acquired. They are still an independent studio, and despite the rumors, they were not working on a new Banjo-Kazooie game. That's kind of disappointing. I thought that would have been cool if it was true.
Yeah, that's developers of Yooka-Laylee. That was the rumor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that Yooka-Laylee is popular enough that it would have been on Microsoft's radar to be like, grab those guys. But then their history is solid enough that maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I hear that new. What's the new one called? The Impossible Lair.
Yeah,
yeah.
It was way better than the first. I played both of them.
I heard it's great. Yeah, I actually want to pick that up. I didn't care much to check out the first one, but I love that style of game, and it's like, man, it looks good. It runs well.
Yeah, I definitely preferred the Impossible Lair over the original. It was incredibly well done.
I like the gimmick that you can try to go through the impossible layer from the very beginning of the game if you're a psychopath. Can't wait to see that on Games Done Quick.
Oh yeah, that'll happen.
Oh yeah, well,
I don't know if my mic picked that up, but I just heard a huge cat fight in the other room, so that was fun.
I didn't hear it.
Apparently, literally all that company has done is the Yooka-Laylees, so maybe not enough of a catalog for. And Microsoft has bought a lot of studios lately, so maybe they're happy with where their chips are right now.
I would think the biggest thing going for Playtonic is that most everybody that works with them has some history on Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah,
and that would be the only thing that would tick the box.
There's old blood, there's old talent in there for sure. It's mostly it's old guard. So.
Maybe Microsoft could just, do some licensing with them. Just license them, have them make it a, published first party, developed by the third party. Nintendo does that shit all the time.
Yeah.
Well, Microsoft's been doing that quite a bit more lately. I mean, that's how Ori is done.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, it's not something out of their wheelhouse to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking how Nintendo, shopped out the Zelda license for Cadence of Hyrule. And does stuff like that here and there.
Yeah. Speaking of Nintendo, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is now officially the best-selling fighting game in history, with nearly 16 million copies sold, and Switch sales are over 41 million units.
Yeah, it just beat Street Fighter 2 in all-time sales, right?
Combined Street Fighter 2, every version of Street Fighter 2 combined didn't match Smash Ultimate.
And
same.
Yeah, Smash Ultimate is a hell of a freaking game. There is so much content in there.
It's not top 100 of the decade, I'll say that.
No, not that good. Not quite that good. The music player in Smash Ultimate belongs on a top 100 list alone.
Belongs on a top 10 list alone.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Terry Bogard hit this week.
Yes, Terry Bogard from Fatal Fury joined Smash this week. He comes with a new stage
and 50 songs, 17 arrangements.
50?
Yes.
Is that the most of any series in the game?
It might be close.
Outside of Mario?
17 new arrangements and then 33 other tracks from various SNK games.
Meanwhile, Cloud has 2 songs.
I know, he looks really stupid. Yeah, there's new Metal Slug arrangements. There is a banger Psycho Soldier arrangement in there. Fatal Fury stuff, Samurai Showdown, Art of Fighting. All kinds of SNK stuff in there, and it is great. And also, Terry is an awesome character. He plays he does. Well, he plays like a fighting game character. If he's facing one way and you press away plus the special button, he does a different side special, depending on which way you hit the stick.
That's cool.
So he has, He plays really well. It's awesome.
I haven't had a chance to try him out yet. I hear he's really good though. So
yeah. I mean, the first thing I do when a Smash character comes out is I download it and then check out the music player. And then I'm like, oh, right, I should look at the character too. I guess I'll do that.
Good man.
Yeah.
Love it. Oh, I need to look at the SNK music list. I'm curious. I didn't realize they had Metal Slug stuff in there.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous how many songs are on there.
I just love how companies that aren't, I guess, Final Fantasy Square specifically are willing to, they get their character in there and then they back it up with all the music and the stage, and they do the spirits as well to like really add to the package. It just makes Cloud look dumber by comparison when there's so little Final Fantasy in the game and there's
Square
so much
looks so shitty.
But I mean, they did fine with Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
Like you have 4 different variations of the hero. You have a bunch of music.
Aren't there 8 different variations of the hero?
Maybe it's 8, but I think it's 4 different skins. It's like I don't know how you break it down. I think the other 4 are just palette swaps with the first 4. But still, like very different looking characters. Along with the stage and all that stuff, and you even have like little things like the Mii costumes that sometimes come with songs, like Sans from Undertale, which came with the Megalovania remix that may have appeared on AEW Dynamite a week ago.
That was incredible, by the way.
It was absolutely incredible. Yeah, that was awesome, and it was the version from Smash. I might add that it was that version of the song. Yeah. I listened to it back a couple times because it wasn't the original. It was the arrangement.
Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of music, Just Dance 2020 launched this week. Get this.
What?
It launched for the Xbox One, the Switch, the PS4, and yes, the original Wii.
Yep.
What?
Isn't that insane? That no Wii U launch, but the Wii still gets a game.
At E3. They announced that at E3. Yeah.
Didn't they close the store? Didn't they close the eShop, the old eShop for Wii stuff?
They did, but you can buy it physical. There's still 100 million Wiis out there in the world, and clearly it's worthwhile for them to slap Just Dance on a disc still. Like, this isn't like, oh, they're bringing it back to the Wii. They've been doing this every year.
They have.
That's incredible.
They never stopped. So, yeah.
Ubisoft is balls deep on the Wii, so.
But also not in the top 100.
No, not in the top 100.
Of course not.
Lord of the Rings, the adventure card game, launched on Game Pass this week alongside Subnautica, which released on Game Pass.
Oh man, I want to play Subnautica.
Or it joined Game Pass. It didn't release to Game Pass, but it's available on Game Pass.
I do want to play Subnautica. I've heard good things about that game.
Well, it's on Game Pass.
I heard. Yeah, I own it because it was free on the Epic Store like the first week they launched that thing, but now I can play it on my TV upstairs.
Thank you, Game Pass. You're available for $14.99 a month for Game Pass Ultimate.
We really should be getting a cut.
We should. I'm fighting for it. I'm going to keep pimping them out until they give us money.
I don't know
available.
That's how
it's
it works.
$1 right now, right? It's $1 for a month.
If you're a new subscriber, like it's always cheap to get in.
Which is me. I have not subscribed to Game Pass yet because I have no Xbox.
You should get one. Well, if you get Game Pass Ultimate, you get Game Pass for the PC as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do the Ultimate thing, then you can get Game Pass for PC for just $5.99.
Wow, this is like wait. There's
Mm-hmm.
more. If I'm on
there
podcast,
is more, and that's the thing with Game Pass Ultimate. There is always more.
More than you have time to play. Jeez.
There was literally an ad they did where they were like, "Our goal is to keep your backlog just overflowing."
I can't imagine
they do a
being like
job at it.
A kid. Like, back when I was back in my day, when I'm 10, 11 years old and I get a game for Christmas, my birthday, and then maybe some indeterminate time in the middle of the year. Like if I just had, just get me Game Pass and I could just have access to 50, hundreds of games anytime.
Oh my God. It's $10 a month for Xbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what, like 2 games a year is $120.
Yep.
A year of Game Pass is all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's something like 180, 185 games available in it right now.
That's actually pretty good.
No, there's over 200.
Is there over 200 now?
In Game Pass, yeah.
Nice.
From a parent's perspective, that's pretty. I didn't really think about it like that. But like if your kid's playing games, keeping them up on the latest is a lot cheaper, I guess, if that's something you want to do. Man,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Good deal. Too bad I don't have an Xbox.
Lucky kids.
Yeah, lucky us.
Yeah. Lucky us too. Yeah. Outer Worlds just drops there on a, and, you know, ugh. Just
Outer Worlds is
Gears 5,
part of the
it's on
top
there.
100 of all time.
No, it's Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds is not Outer Worlds.
I
Yeah,
thought Worlds
Outer
was on the
Worlds.
list.
Worlds is
No.
not. Probably should be.
Hmm.
I'd take it over Wilds, but that's me.
I could have sworn it said Worlds. Oh well.
No. People
Either
love
way,
Outer
both are on
Wilds.
Game Pass.
They are. They both launched on Game Pass, I believe, as well. Anyways,
Yeah, I'm looking. My ready to install for Game Pass says 237, and I have 9 installed. So
Wow.
there's a shitload of games on Game Pass, and that doesn't include Game Pass PC.
Yeah, because
Which
there are
there's
different
even
games
more.
on there that are not on Xbox. Like the Messenger is on Windows 10 with achievements, Xbox achievements, but not on Xbox.
the game's about to be free on the Epic Store.
Oh man! Speaking of
Which game is?
subscription services,
Sorry.
The Messenger is.
Messenger.
That's free on
Oh,
Epic Store
gotcha.
next Thursday. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
I'll have to keep an eye out for that one. That's all I do with the Epic stores. I load it up, get my free games, and close it.
That's what I do.
Same.
That's all
Still-
I'll ever use it for.
I did just pre-purchase a game. Side note, sorry. I just
I don't know what is-
pre-purchased Superliminal. It comes out the 12th. You guys familiar with Superliminal?
No.
No.
It's this game that's been in development. You've probably seen videos of it for like 4 years, but it's where you pick up an object in the 3D space. It's a first person game, and as you turn and drop it, it will be the size that it is relative to what you're looking at. So like if you pick up a chess piece off a chessboard and then look off into the distance and let go of the chess piece, it'll be the size of a building.
Oh,
Does that make sense? Yeah, and so it's all puzzles based on size of objects and stuff. It's like $16 on Epic. I've been following their email list, and they just went on pre-order, and it comes out in a couple days. So, did buy that. That's like the one game I've bought off Epic Store, except for all the free stuff. So,
Yeah, it's all about the free
All right.
stuff. But as I was saying, speaking of subscription services, the last bit of news I have is that PlayStation now is adding 3 more games to their lineup. Hollow Knight is joining for good, and then Middle Earth, Shadow of War, and Persona 5 are joining only until February 4th.
Persona.
I'm kind of on the fence with what Sony's doing with adding these games. Like they're obviously trying to take a page out of Microsoft's playbook by adding bigger titles, but for only 2-3 months, that's not that long.
It might be tough to get through Persona 5 in that amount of time.
Yeah. And
you know,
then
unless you really commit to it.
and then for their evergreen library, they only added 1 game. Last month
I mean,
they
Hollow
didn't
Knight's
add
really good.
any.
Hollow Knight is real good.
So it is really good. But there's a lot of people upset that the amount of games being added is pretty paltry compared to what it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't seem really that committed to it.
Yeah, but that's the news I have. Anything any of you want to talk about?
Nothing jumping to the fore. Because you talked
Nada.
about BlizzCon on Tuesday. Yeah, I'm good.
What about you, Grant? Anything you want to discuss news-wise?
I don't think so. I did mention that Superliminal game. Everyone go check out a trailer for Superliminal. It looks pretty cool out next week. But I don't think. What else happened? That's
I don't
it.
know. That's
it.
the news. Cole, any news on your end?
Nope.
All right, that's the news then. Time for
Woo, we
reviews.
did
Tim, are
it.
you heading out?
I'm heading out. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Time to go
thank
to
you
bed.
as always
Gotta
for
get
being
morning.
here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's nice to yell about the list. Yeah. Have a good night. I'll catch y'all later.
Later,
Take
man.
care.
Bye.
Peace. All right. Well, it is review time, and Grant, we'll start with you so you could get going as well. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, first game to talk about tonight is called Pinball FX3 Williams Pinball Universal Monsters Pack. Developed and published by Zen Studios. It released October 29th on all platforms. The Pinball FX3 is available on, except for the PS4, which it released November 5th, but it's all out now, so that's kind of pointless mentioning all the dates. But it's $9.99. 2 scarily authentic tables based on the Universal monsters, Monster Bash and Creature from the Black Lagoon, playing their perfectly simulated original form or as remaster tables with updated graphics, animated toys, and a host of new features. Grant, tell us about it.
Well, there's one extra bullet on these that they sort of put in a little, they sort of put as a subtitle. I don't know if you people that have, listened to this show have heard a bit about pinball. Should I start at the beginning? Have you guys heard of pinball?
Sure.
It's like where you fire a marble up and there are pins sticking out of a board and you sort of try to get it in the hole. And
I just feel like you're knocking on the door and going around your neighborhood going, Can I speak to you about our Lord and Savior pinball?
Have you heard the good news about pinball? Would you like to buy some encyclopedias? No?
Oh Lord.
Anyway. So Zen Studios has been putting out packs of Williams tables for, I guess, about a year, maybe? Something like
Around that, yeah.
So this latest one is a package of 2 tables in time for Halloween, except for a little late on the PS4. But they did some Universal tables a while ago. They did Back to the Future, E.T. So they developed this relationship with Universal anyway, which I guess was probably good timing that they were putting these Williams packs together because they were able to hit both licenses and do a double pack with Monster Bash and Creature from the Black Lagoon, all involving the classic Universal monsters that we know. And so it's a $10 for 2 tables, which is a bit different than the other packs. The other packs have been 3 tables for $10. But this involves licensing, and I think this is probably a sign of things to come. Tables that involve the licensing like this are a little more expensive to get out there. So, So have either of you played either of these before? Are you familiar with either of these tables by chance?
I played Monster Bash in arcades, but that was eons ago. Yeah.
Both appropriate for the Halloween season. So there's 2 tables. One is Creature from the Black Lagoon, which was an original table from 1992, and it is probably the most complicated looking pinball machine I've ever seen. I've played a lot of pinball in my life, Joe.
No, really?
Yep, a whole lot.
I can't believe it.
I will say, nope, it's true. It's true. Believe it or not.
I'll take your word for it.
I will tell you that this table, when you walk up to it, is just like an embarrassment of ramps and colors. It looks like the most complicated thing in the world. It's actually a very simple machine, but I still get a little wigged out when I walk up to it because there are so many chutes and ladders going everywhere. It's a fun table. It's basically, it takes place in a drive-in. So when you start a game, you have to do all the things you normally have to do when you go to the drive-in before the movie starts. You have to go to the snack bar. You have to pay for your ticket. You have to get a smooch from your lady. And then you can lock a ball for multi-ball. And when you start multi-ball, the movie starts. And then you like hit jackpots or whatever to collect the creature or whatever. It's a pretty simple set of rules. It's just a very complicated looking table. But it's a lot of fun. It's sort of a favorite amongst collectors. It's not my favorite table, I'll say. I think it's a lot cooler in concept than it is to play. But it is a fun table. It's just not my favorite Williams, and it's not my favorite monster table. But it's cool, and it is a very faithful recreation of that table by the Zen crew. So that's table number 1. Table number 2 is maybe my favorite pinball machine ever.
Wow.
Maybe next to I really like Taxi and I really like Space Shuttle, but Monster Bash is the best playing. It's like my favorite playing pinball machine, and it's also one of the coolest pinball themes I've ever could have ever come up with. It's basically a story about getting all of the Universal monsters back together to play in the band they played in college. So it's like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Frankenstein, Bride, Mummy, Werewolf, and Dracula. And it's about getting the frickin' band back together, man. It's about jamming again. So the band is called Monsters of Rock, and you have to hit all the different shots. Every shot corresponds to a different monster. And then every monster has a multi-ball associated with it. So you're trying to sort of activate all the monsters to collect them. And then you complete the modes, each of those monster modes, to collect their instruments. So, Dracula plays the guitar, and Frankenstein plays the keys, and the Bride has a microphone because she sings. And so it's about collecting all the monsters and starting and putting on the show. And this machine came out a bit later. This came out in 1998. So they had full on sound chips, actual audio, not just FM chips like circa SNES or Genesis or whatever. It is a slammin' prog soundtrack. It is super, super fun.
Have you covered it yet? The soundtrack?
I have not, but I've been talking about this with Beardo and a few other people. Like I know several people that are big fans of this soundtrack. It's seriously, it rocks. It's got vocals. There's a mosh pit multi-ball with like frickin' thrash metal.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really fun. So it's a great table. It's really fun to try and start the modes for 2 different monsters at once because you get mad points that way. It's a beautiful machine. Sounds good, looks good, plays great. So this is kind of the gem in the package. I think it's my favorite table ever. So I can't help but recommend the table. I think as far as like a value proposition goes, it's $10 for 2 classic tables, one being my favorite, one being a lot of people's favorite. It's just not mine. If you're a fan of these tables or you want to play the best recreations of these tables, I think $10 is not much to pay for that. They did one update with this pack as well. They included a new physics model. So they've been trying to go for more realistic physics ever since they started putting out the Williams packs. But for this pack, they've updated it again. And there hasn't been much written about it, but it is incredible. I think for the first time, the ball really feels like it has weight in a pinball effects game. It's kind of crazy, actually. It's the most realistic virtual video pinball I think I've ever played. It's only available on these 2 tables, but it's quite good. So if you're trying to kind of get the arcade experience with the physics. This is a great way to get
the Williams physics engine on these tables different than the Williams physics engine on the other Williams packs?
Yeah, it's a good question. It is. So it's updated. It's sort of, I don't know if it's like they call it beta or something, but it's just available on these 2 tables right now. You can, if you play any of the Williams packs, you can choose arcade mode or classic mode. And classic mode is like their, physics simulation, realistic physics simulation. They haven't applied that to all their old tables, all the stuff people have been playing for years, because that would really change things for their fan base. But new physics for the new Williams tables and an even more updated model for just these 2. And I seriously hope they lock this in with the other tables, because it really is something. The ball behaviors and the way the balls spin and the way the flippers actually feel like they have rubber on them. They kind of flop around a little bit, and you can do really weird things with the ball. It's very impressive. So, it's the best way to play Monster Bash. If you're not, dropping 75 cents at an arcade near you. So,
yeah. When did pinball tables get so goddamn expensive to play?
Yeah, they keep going up. Now they just sort of come with dollar machines on them. What's the deal? Inflation. I know. It actually makes $10 a more, seem even more reasonable when you're dropping $1 a game.
Yeah.
In the arcade, So
your overall verdict at $10?
I think it's a great deal. I think if you like, if you're interested in some classic tables, and the best version of those tables, this is worth the money. As a fan of these tables, I'd say it's about as good as you could possibly get for video pinball. So take that as you will. $10 for 2 tables, I think, is a good deal. But plan on spending some time with it, learning the rules and stuff. So
awesome, sounds good.
Yeah, dig it.
All right, well, Grant, I guess we will let you get going. Thank you so much for joining us and chatting with us. It is always a pleasure having you on.
Always a pleasure to hang out with you too.
When's your next album coming out?
Tomorrow. I have to write it tonight. I gotta get started.
You got my hopes up for a second there, you dick.
No, I know. I'm sorry. You're so sweet. No, I'm working on stuff. I got things happening. I don't have. Joe, I don't know. I'm getting there, man. You know what I mean? One day at a time.
Send us something new to play on the show.
Cannot be put on a timeline.
How can I? If I'm playing so much Monster Bash, how do I have time to rock out? Man, you know what? I'm just gonna scrap the record and just do a Monster Bash cover album, because
that works.
It needs to happen.
Do it.
It's good shit.
Do it and debut it on here.
All right, okay. Consider it done.
All right, Grant, you have yourself a good night, and hugs and kisses your way. Do you have any final words?
Back at you. Be cool. Write your top 10 lists.
All right, moving on. We've got Dark Mika joining us. Dark Mika, how are you doing?
I am sleepy. I only got like 2 hours of sleep last night.
What are you talking about last night? We're still going live, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Shows never ended. Thursday night. We're still going. It's like midnight now. Some shit like that.
Still didn't sleep much last night.
Doesn't matter which night it was. She just didn't sleep.
Exactly.
Oh my God. This show is such a shit show. I love it. I love it. But next game to talk about is called Close to the Sun, developed by Storm in a Teacup, published by Wired Productions, released October 29th on Xbox One, PS4, and Switch for $29.99. Journalist Rose Archer steps aboard the Helios in search of her sister Ada. She quickly discovers not all is as it seems. Grand halls stand empty. The stench of rotting flesh lingers in the air. Silence. A single word is painted across the entrance. Quarantine. Aki, tell us about Close to the Sun.
Well, damn, that was a good chunk of the story right there. It's already just said. Shit. It's a... stop me if you've heard this before, but it's a walking sim and puzzle game.
Never heard of that before.
Yeah. Not exactly the same genre I just reviewed with my last review. Except for this one is like kind of like BioShock in setting. As you already stated, you play as Rose looking for Ada. You got a letter from her, and it was just said, I need you here. It's an emergency. Come to Nikola Tesla's little utopian ship, the Helios, and come find me. I need your help, like, now. You're like, okay. So you go. Because, why not send the cops or ask for the cops or fucking anything else? But the ship is a utopia for the elite of the world and for scientists, which is one of the reasons why it's very BioShock-esque. Nikola Tesla has decided, I'm going to build this gigantic ship that's going to house people, let them work free of all of these silly things like ethics and governments telling them what to do, and we're just going to do whatever the fuck we want.
That would never go badly.
Exactly. And of course, your character shows up, and quarantine is written in red on the very front door, and you can find fucking nobody. It's like, yay! Everything's going well and correct with this place. Yay! And there's the main story for this game, which is you looking for Ada and trying to deal with the quarantine and why it's come about. But there's also this really interesting backstory that you get from finding little letters and memos and stuff scattered about throughout the levels that tell of this war that's happening between Tesla and Thomas Edison. Tesla has been what many countries believe has been straight up kidnapping scientists. And Edison is very much against him because, they actually had a rivalry. And he's been sending spies onto Nikola's Helios to sabotage it and their research and everything. And Nikola has decided, well, I'm just going to torture people who I suspect are bad guys for you. It's like, that really comes up being really cool as you get to see, different people that are suspected spies. You get to see conversations that people have about them. And then there's also just backstory that tell you about the life of people on there and such. It's very interesting. The puzzle aspects of the game are generally figure out how to open security doors and disable security systems and stuff like that. So they're not really all that hard. It's more find this code and fucking input it, or you need to turn these things off in a specific order to get this thing to shut off so you don't get fried. You know, and none of them are particularly hard, but they're actually really fun to do.
And I'd rather have fun over difficult.
Yes, so much. These are very, very simple, very easy. I really enjoyed them. I think the hardest one was there's a room where electricity is going around because, you know, it's Nikola Tesla, and that's kind of what he did, freestanding electricity. And you had to go around and flick 4 switches to turn it off. Except for as you flick the switches, the electricity went around faster and faster. So you had to find a way to get past the parts of the electricity to flip the next switch. And that was the most difficult that shit got, really. They were very simple, which was very nice. However, there's also some chase sequences to break up the monotony of just, you know, walking around in a walking sim, where you have to escape various different things. All the things want to kill you. I'm not going to specify exactly what the things are, but they are various things. There's not just one thing. There's various things throughout the game. And it gets kind of annoying sometimes during the chase sequences because you're fucking running around and there's always branching paths. And some of them are dead ends. But you don't know that until you take it. It's like, oh, you motherfucker. Because you only have like a second or two extra that distance between you and the creature, and the entire time you're making just tiny little mistakes. You're not pushing a button to jump over something quite fast enough, or you're not hitting at just the right angle to get through it as fast as humanly possible. So you're getting just tiny fragments of that cut down bit by bit. So you don't have time to like, oh shit, I just hit this dead end. I got to turn around and run back, because once you turn around, it's right there in your face and you're fucked. So it's all about fucking trial and error, which kind of sucks because there is an achievement for beating the game without dying. It's like, and dashboarding, lots of times in games like that, when you die, you can just dashboard. After I died for like 500 times in the damn campaign, nowhere really near that, but I dashboarded every time because it's like, that has to work. It works in literally every game I've ever played. I can fucking cheese this. Yeah, no, I could not cheese that. It hurt my soul. I felt like a fucking Muppet. So, fuck you. There's some twists and turns in the game that constantly make it feel fresh, even straight up to the end. Like, just things just constantly happening that you're like, oh, I did not expect that. Oh, this bit of story, that is not really how I was thinking this was going to turn out. Like, people that you think are bad are good. It's like, what the fuck? Because, like, the moment you meet some people, you're like, this person's a fucking asshole. They're obviously a bad guy. No. It's like, nope, no, they're not. They're good guys. They like you even. It's like, the fuck?
Well, don't give away too much.
Yeah, that's why I'm not specifying names.
Yeah, but now if I play the game and I run into an asshole, I'm going to be like, you have a heart of gold, don't you?
Yeah, except you're going to run into a few assholes, so that ain't going to work. Because it don't happen for very many of them. I would like it to have happened for all of them. It would have made the game a lot easier. But no. And this, I may have said it was kind of like BioShock, but that's only in theme. Your character is just a reporter, and this is the very early 1900s. She's a woman. You're not a soldier or anything. You have to pretty much fucking run from everything because you don't have combat training. You don't do martial arts or anything. You're just a standard woman from back then, and you know, life is life. You gotta run. which is fine. I would have honestly liked some combat in the game. That would have been really cool, just because of how well the game looked. It'd been so awesome if there was combat, but there isn't, sadly. I had a couple issues with the game. One of them I already mentioned, dying in every fucking chase sequence almost. That drove me nuts. Yeah, it's like, and it's specifically because it wasn't my own dumbass mistake. It was because the pathways, you can't see it's a dead end until you're already on it. It's like, damn it. Like, if it was my own dumbass mistake, fine. I accept that. But it wasn't. It was the game just... And it makes sense that you wouldn't know the dead ends. After all, you're new to the ship. But still, god damn it. It sucks every time you do that. The other issue I have with it is the game ends without an ending. It very much sets it up for a sequel. And I always have an issue with games do this because statistically, throughout gaming history, every time a fucking game does this, we never get a fucking sequel. And I want to see how the shit ends. And I know statistically, I'm never going to see another one of these. And that pisses me off. It's like, when you finish the game fully, you might get a sequel then. But when you cut off the end of it to make a second game, that never works.
Hey, it might happen. We might get closer to the sun.
I hope so. I really do. Honestly, I don't exactly understand why the name of the game is that, to be honest. Because there is nothing about that in the fucking game whatsoever. At all.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea. But for $30, yeah, it's the game takes under 3 hours to beat. If you know what you're doing, because there's an achievement for that too. But
the first playthrough is not going to be 3 hours.
Yeah,
unless you're following a guide and cheesing it.
Even if you're doing that, it's going to take longer. Because you have to collect collectibles and stuff in the game, which are just other bits of the background information. Something you're going to want to look through the first playthrough anyways, just because it makes the game much more interesting. So your first playthrough and then that playthrough, because you're going to have to not die during that playthrough to get that for sure. You're probably looking at around 11 hours, give or take.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say it's worth it. The story's great. The background stuff filled out a lot of the story and made the game so much cooler. The graphics are fantastic, even if they're not quite realistic looking, mostly because of color palette. But everything has a lot of detail, and it's just very pretty. The game is fucking gorgeous. So yeah, I liked it. I liked the twists. It was just a fantastic game.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I guess we'll let you get going. We have more show to do. So thanks for being here.
All right then.
Now get the fuck out. Get the fuck
out. See you later.
Thanks as always for being here, and you have yourself a wonderful day.
You too.
All right, next game to talk about is called Citadel Forged with Fire, developed by Blue Isle Studios and Virtual Basement, published by Blue Isle Studios. Released November 1st on Xbox One, PS4, and Steam for $39.99. My bad. Citadel Forged with Fire is a massive online sandbox RPG with elements of magic, spellcasting, and interkingdom conflict. As a newly minted apprentice of the magic arts, you will set off to investigate the dangerous world of Ignis. Your goal: create a name for yourself and achieve notoriety and power among the land's ruling houses. Cole, tell us about Citadel.
Have you ever played Ark and wished that instead of dinosaurs there were mages?
Well, I don't play Ark much, but yes, I wish there was magic instead of dinosaurs.
Well, then you'd probably be very happy with Citadel.
Yay!
This is pretty much like Ark and the Elder Scrolls had a bastard love child and released it into the world.
Interesting. I'm listening.
It is a first-person survival open-world game. And much like, other games in this genre like Ark and Atlas and Your goal is to go out, collect all the things, build a base, don't get dead. Spoiler alert, you will get dead. And then it's respawn and do it all again until you get better. There is no getting good. You just get better and hope you don't get fucked.
You just get less worse.
Yes, exactly. I would love to rant and rave about how incredible Citadel is. But it is not quite as flawless as it could be. Given that there are games like Ark and Atlas in this genre as well, it's kind of hard not to make comparisons with it.
No.
And expect it to kind of live up to those standards. On one hand, there are things that it does better. It has a far better UI than like Ark or Atlas. I hate those ugly UIs. And everything in Citadel is much more streamlined. It's far easier to navigate your items and see what you've collected. Of course, you're going to be walking around spamming X and picking up rocks and all kinds of different plants and things to craft with. Because that's the meat and potatoes of these kind of games, is getting to a point where you can craft and unlock abilities. And Citadel doesn't shy away from that. But there are some errors, if you will.
What do you mean by errors?
Typically with these kind of games, early gameplay is you go out, you find shit, you get killed by shit, you respawn, you go find your shit, and you do it again. And that is, a chunk of Citadel's early gameplay, but there's an element in things like Ark and Atlas where if you encounter an animal, you're out collecting, you have means for getting away from those animals. You can run away, or you can try to get into a different area. Hell, most of the early animals you encounter don't even attack you unless you outright aggro them. Citadel doesn't do that. Citadel does not give a fuck how far away that boar is. If it senses you're within a mile of it, it will cross the entire goddamn map to gore you. I spawned in the very beginning tutorial area. There's like a purple mist around it so that you're safe while you're in there doing the tutorial shit. And then it's the moment you step out into the world, I was level 2 and I got eaten by a direwolf.
Nice.
It was just right there.
Tarkmika, the boar just wants a cuddle buddy for his horns.
Ow. It is so infuriatingly difficult to get started because there's no leeway with the dangers. Now, I was playing single player, and I just, for the life of me, I bet I spent my first 15 hours with the game just constantly dying to mundane shit because the wolves and the boars and things, their sightline is just immediately you.
Jeez.
It's unforgiving. Now, if you can get past that, you start to open up the ability to build your base. You get a throne that you put inside your base. Everybody gets a throne for free. I'm kind of amused by that concept. You can, as I said, you can play single player. You can also, just like in Ark and Atlas and other games like that, there's Conan is another one. You have the ability to play on a public server. Much like every other survival game in existence, those servers are packed with people who spend 24/7 playing Citadel and nothing else. And so when you're new, you have a very hard road to toe to even get your foot in the door with some of these groups. In other games, they're called tribes or clans. Citadel uses the term houses because, of course, wizards. You can join a house, provided one will let you. and not just constantly steal your shit. Guess which one happened to me? You can join a house, but if you are low level, even joining a house doesn't give you the benefits of being a part of that community. Like on Ark, for example, if you join a tribe, everything that tribe had access to is yours, and you can access it just the same. But Citadel doesn't do that. You kind of start out as like a low-level intern, and you can't even open the fucking doors without people's help.
Wow.
It's very boxed in, and it's just like, you know, you're so limited that you get frustrated even just trying to progress enough to do anything. If you can manage it, there are some seriously kick-ass upgrades in this game toward the, like, in the later gameplay. There comes a point where you can even unlock telekinesis and just flat out move other people's castles with your mind. Fling that shit off a cliff. You can do it. But in the very beginning, who are you slogging through it? It definitely puts you through your paces. One other thing I wanted to touch on is, like other games in this genre, you have the ability to tame animals. But even that's not as, like, fantastic as it could be. Typically, in these games, you tame an animal and it is yours. It's that. It's done. Deal, right?
Yeah.
In Citadel, you need to cast a spell, which uses an insane amount of mana, even just to tame something low level like a bear. Forget trying to tame anything like a dragon, because you just are not going to have the mana for that. It's possible, but I won't talk about it. But you have to use a spell and use up an insane amount of mana and resources to even get to the point where you can use it. But then there's a timer. And so, like, that bear might only be yours for, like, 30 minutes. You can only have 4 tames at a time. And they're limited to how long they will stay tamed for you. So do not be, chilling with your bear when that timer runs out. That is a surprisingly unfortunate way to play. Like, if you're going to put the resources in, you want to know that you've got that resource out and that's yours.
Yeah.
I could forgive it if you could adjust your resources. Usually in these kind of games, you can go into your settings and just fuck with literally everything and be like, oh, I can hit a tree once and get 100 wood, but you can't in Citadel. It's just, you're chopping away all day. You're going to get 2 to 3 wood, no matter how much you chop.
Well, if you do single player, and go to the advanced settings, you can adjust the rate of, like, resource and experience and stuff like that. Yeah,
because I know I increased experience, but I couldn't find where to increase the
You had to go to advanced settings.
Oh, okay. See, that should just.
And then there's a shitload more there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have made things a lot easier. Because I did increase the XP and I was doing okay, but it doesn't matter when you go to normal servers anyway. One other thing, all 50 achievements are secret.
Yeah, I saw that.
Get the fuck out of here. Don't do that. I don't even like when there's like 2 secret achievements in a game. And you're going to give me 50. Fuck off. And now I haven't unlocked any achievements because I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do.
I take it dying was not an achievement. Dying
I guess
the first
not,
time.
because I did that a lot.
Well, overall, $40 on Citadel. What are you thinking?
I can give it a try. There's a lot of good. There's just that it's hard not to compare it to others in the genre that have just done other things a little better. But there's room for growth, and they could always work on it some more. And these kind of games, they're living games. They're constantly changing. There's constantly options for the way the developers might take it one way or another. So I feel confident in giving it a try it and seeing where it goes.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. as Pickle jumps up onto my lap, the next game to talk about is called Wizards of Brandel, developed by Xcreate, published by Kemco, released November 6th on Xbox One and Windows 10 for $14.99. The young wizard Darius loses his house after he fails to make a loan repayment and ends up living for free in the house of a wanted sorcerer, as he meets a female swordsman who has absolutely no sense of direction and a plant girl who shrivels up immediately if she doesn't drink enough water. Fate decrees to end up traveling together. Where will the quarrels over differing principles lead to? As you can tell, this is the latest retro RPG from Kemco. The story is kind of convoluted. When I first started playing the game, it just drops you in that your house is being taken away and some magic person shows up, and like it's presumed that you have all this knowledge of these characters, but there's nothing leading up to it. And I was very confused for like the first 2 hours I'm playing this game, just wondering where the story's going, what's going on. It takes a while to just infer everything that's going on through the dialogue in the game. And there is a lot of goddamn dialogue in this game.
There always are in these Kemco games.
It felt like there was a lot more than usual than in Kemco games. Yeah, it just the first couple hours I spent with the game, I was just confused and kind of wandering and just following it and attempting to make sense of the story. Basically, you owe money to these people and they stole your house as a means of repayment, and you end up living with a sorcerer who is supposedly this wanted evil dark lord. And after living with him, you're like, this is just a normal dude. There must be some kind of misunderstanding. This swordswoman shows up to try and take over, to capture the evil sorcerer, but she loses the battle, obviously. And then she kind of comes to her senses and realizes that this dude isn't that bad. And she has to go back to the guild and tell them that, hey, you got the story wrong. Everything's okay with this guy. And that's where the story goes. You end up running into another half demon, half girl who shrivels up if she doesn't drink water, which is... You know, in Kemco RPGs, there's a character that always has a trait that you're like, oh my God, okay, we get it. You do this thing. Please stop. Yeah. That was this. Like, this was the one game where she like whips the guy all the time. It's like, oh my God, okay, we get it. You have no temper and you whip the guy a lot. In this one, it's like, okay, you shrivel up and you need water. Okay, let's move on. We don't need to run into this over and over.
Yeah.
Gameplay, it is what you expect out of a Kemco game. Retro RPG, walk around, do battles. There's some twists on the battle system where you have familiars that you can equip and they'll pretty much give you a second attack. So at the one point in the story, you'll have the 3 characters and then each character will have a familiar as well. So you get like 6 attacks. Or you can have like special magic attacks that you partner up with your familiar. Just a lot of customization in what you can do. And what I really enjoyed was how they have the speed up. You could speed up the battles and you can have auto battles in this game.
Oh,
you don't have to worry about using mana when you use your abilities, or you don't have to worry about magic points or anything like that. The spells and abilities are all handled on a turn timer. So if you use a spell, it'll have like, say, 3 turns and then you can use it again.
I like that a lot better.
Yes, so did I. Especially because after every battle, all your hit points are back as well.
Yeah.
I know some Kemco RPGs, you got to pay for that ability, which this one is just built in, and I loved it. It was very good. Battles, they have these little shrines in these areas that you can go to, and if you approach them and use them, you can adjust how frequent the battles are. Either
one of the last ones I reviewed had that too, and I was so relieved.
Yeah, this you can do it per area. It's not a system-wide thing. This is per area. You can decide, okay, this area we're going to have half, or this area we're going to have double. As you battle more enemies, it unlocks the ability to have triple battles or no battles. And if you just want to fight enemies, you can immediately fight 3 battles in a row.
Wow.
No walking around to grind, no wandering and hoping to get into battles.
Refined that system a little more.
Yeah.
Which initially they charged as a microtransaction to decide how many battles you had. So the last couple have had it just, at per area, here it is. It's nice to see them taking away the microtransaction aspect of that.
There are still some microtransactions in the game where you could have like double experience, triple the SP, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But thankfully, the battle stuff is not locked behind a microtransaction and is just there. The fact that you can just automatically start battles was fucking awesome. I loved being able to go into a new area, just do a whole bunch of battles right away, and then turn off random battles. And then I could just explore. And if I felt I was too weak for an area, I could just fight more.
Yeah.
They have the standard Chemco features in the game, like where they have the in-game store that you could buy different items and different equipment and like experience boosters, SP boosters, gold boosters, stuff like that, where you earn the in-game currency that you spend in the in-game store. Again, nothing microtransaction there. It's just one of those Chemco things. They have the system where you can feed items to other items to strengthen them, which I love doing that in games. It's basically like a greatest hits of Chemco features, and it all really works really well. My biggest gripe with this game was the first couple hours where it was just so vague and obtuse on what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
But as I got further into the game and more stuff started making sense and things started clicking, I was having a lot of fun with this game. I started off, I even streamed like an hour and a half of the game, and I'm just like, I'm not having that much fun with this. I've played better Chemco games, but again, as I got further in and things made more sense and the system started coming together, I got more characters in my party, I got more abilities, and I got more familiars that I could use. Everything just started melding together and it felt really good. For $15, I'm going to give this one a buy it. Normally, I would say buy it because it's an RPG on Xbox One, but I'm really enjoying my time with this one and I will see it through to the end.
Nice.
Yep. All right, next game is Race with Ryan, developed by 3D Clouds, published by Outright Games. It released November 1st on Xbox One, Switch, and PS4 for $39.99. Ryan's world has come to life and it's every bit as colorful, fun, and fast as you imagine, so pick a racer, head to one of 6 magical locations, and step on the gas to show your friends and family who the fastest racer really is. Well, running out of air on that. I need a drink. Cole, tell us about Race with Ryan.
So I have a confession. I don't let my kids watch YouTube, and I had absolutely no idea that the Ryan from the title is a kid that does game or toy reviews on YouTube. And I was like, I had to go look it up because you'll be doing the races, and after you complete a race, there's like a little FMV that'll come up with like the kid, and he talks to these animated characters. And I was like, fuck's this kid? Why does he just keep popping up? I don't understand. And so I had to go Google, and he's like a 7-year-old that is like, has millions and millions and millions of YouTube subscribers.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how big this kid's following is, that now he has his own game.
Yeah. I'm like, well, this is a thing. So the little FMV sequences are kind of odd if you're not already familiar with him and who he is and everything. Especially my kids, number 3 played this a lot. She's in that age group. She'll be 7 soon. And she was like, he would pop up and she'd just look at me and go, who was he again? I don't know. How do you like the racing? For the
how is the racing?
Gameplay and racing, the racing is far more solid of a kart racer than I ever expected. I thought this was going to be one of those sequences where I would take the game, be like, the kids might like it, and then have to come on here and be like, oh my gosh, this was just a cash grab to make bank on some kid's image. And yet somehow this is a solid kart racer. It has all the elements you would fully expect there's multiple levels and all these different really well designed worlds. It's a full-fledged real game.
I knew that the racing would be pretty solid because it's made by the guys who did All-Star Fruit Racing. And despite the appearances that, this is just another kiddie racer, it was a really solid racing game.
Yeah.
So
it really holds up. I was so surprised. It is meant for kids, obviously, and so it's not insanely difficult. I did have a couple of complaints. The main one being that you hold A to accelerate.
Yes, that drove me crazy. I wish you could change it to put accelerate on the trigger.
Yeah, you can't, but you know what you can do? You can turn on auto accelerate.
You can.
And so I just let that drive for me. You can also turn on auto steering.
Yes.
Number 3 has played Forza. So she didn't necessarily need those elements, but I had turned them on anyway, and she found them to be more of a hindrance than not. So she did end up turning off the auto steering, but she kept the auto acceleration on for the same reason I did, because we kept instinctively pulling the trigger and not pressing A. So being able to rebind those controls would have been nice. But at least the auto accelerate is an option to make up for it. The downside to that is that there's a boost you get if you accelerate properly off the line. And we were always playing catch up because if you auto accelerate, you don't get that boost.
Yeah.
And if you're playing on hard, everybody's gone.
No, but if you're playing on easy, I've already had it where I had auto accelerate and auto steering on. I started the race, put the controller down, and I won.
I did that too.
Yeah.
Just to see if it would do it. And it did. And I was just like, You have to be a little more careful though if you put it on like medium or hard and do that, because there are achievements for beating on hard, medium, and easy, and they do not stack.
Nope.
So if you do a race on hard, you still gotta go back and do it on medium and easy, which is a bad thing. I already beat it at the hardest. Don't make me go back and do it again. But if you leave it on and try to like tease it for the achievement on hard or whatever, it's gonna run into a wall and just sit there. So that's unfortunate. But at least for the sake of putting on easy, setting those up, that means that it's accessible to really young kids. Mm-hmm. If you've ever had a 2-year-old that wants to play a game, they do. Like, I've got pictures of number 1 when she was literally 4 months old, laying in the floor in a diaper holding a controller. Okay? She couldn't even hold her own head up on her own, but she would lay there and hold a controller.
Nice.
So
start them young.
Sometimes you got to get them when you can. But being able to set it like that and then hand the controller and know that they're still going to be able to play it and enjoy it and have a good time and feel like they did something when they win, because they will win in that situation unless they flat out drive it off the into a wall or something. But yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised that it played as well as it did, and other than not being able to rebind, that was the only thing I could bitch about.
I do have one thing I want to bitch about.
Mm-hmm.
The live action stuff, not the acting. I don't care that it's poorly acted. That's kind of the charm of the game.
Yeah.
It's the quality. I feel that the video quality is really grainy. It doesn't look that good. It looks like it was filmed on a camcorder. It's not that good quality. The audio quality is terrible. Like, for how rich these people are and how much money they've made, they could afford better sound equipment.
Mic. Yeah.
Like when it's starting up a stage and it's like, get ready to race on this course, like you can hear the microphone popping in between where they splice the audio. It's just on a presentation standpoint, the real life stuff is just so low quality compared to the rest of the game that I think it drags it down a little bit. I wish there was a bit more production value in the live action stuff and in the audio recording.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my gripe. But overall, $40, what do you think?
Kind of a high price, but this is one of those where I wouldn't say, oh, buy it for easy achievements, even though it is easy achievements. It would be more like, this is specifically aimed at small kids.
Yes.
And if you have a small child who is going to enjoy it and not someone like number 3 who has a history of playing shit she should not, then it's far more worth it. And that makes me more inclined to say, give it a recommended try it. But if you have a kid that is already more inclined to kart racers or isn't specifically a fan of Ryan and isn't looking to play something just because it has their favorite YouTuber in it, then there are better options for racers.
Yeah, like All-Star Fruit Racing.
No.
I got to agree with you on it. If you are looking to buy this, I saw Walmart has a special package where it comes with, I think, a toy car. So if you're looking to pick it up physical, you could always check Walmart and see if they have their launch bundle with the toy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next game is Delta Squad, developed by Ekkebus Games, published by Ratalaika Games. It released October 20th on PS4, 30th on Xbox One, November 1st on the Switch for $5.99. Just when you think the world is safe and it's okay to take a break, a new threat emerges. The Delta Squad must do battle against General Rumanovsky, a maniacal overlord who will stop at nothing to achieve global domination. Only the Delta Squad can stop Rumanovsky from taking control of a deadly virus capable of eradicating human life. Cole, tell us about Delta Squad.
You know what the best way to take over the world is?
How?
Kill everybody with zombies.
Yeah.
Apparently. And then just rule over the zombies, because that's this guy's modus operandi.
That works.
It's a little odd story-wise, but if you don't probe into it too much, it works fine. Gameplay-wise, you've got a top-down twin-stick shooter. You have up to 4 players local co-op. And it is pretty much just go in and shoot the zombies and the other big bads and hope you don't die. And on the surface, that's pretty solid. I mean, when I'm looking for a twin-stick shooter, I don't want a lot of details. I just want to go shoot things. I want to spin in circles and go pew-pew and be happy. Typically, though, with this kind of genre, the gameplay is a little more on the faster pace side than what Delta Squad has to offer. All of your characters move like they are snails stuck in molasses.
Oh boy.
There are 4 different characters, with 4 different classes. So basically, like, your tank, your medic, one's infantry. For the love of me, I can't remember what the 4th one was. I played this last week. And so I'm glad I remember this much.
Hey, you're the one who takes notes, so.
I know, and I did, but I don't know what the fuck I was doing, but I didn't write down what dude number 4 was. I think I was just like, yeah, that exists, and continued
He's a baker.
on.
We'll go with baker.
All right, fine. Because he might as well be a baker for all of the other special abilities. Everything, even though they're all different character classes, like, they all play the same way. Like, your infantry dude has a grenade and you press left bumper to throw the grenade, but the medic has a med box and you press left bumper and he throws the med box the exact same way the infantry dude throws the grenade. And it's like, the only difference is one throws their special into the enemies and the other one throws their special into the teammates. And it's pretty cut and dry. Like, it's just the exact same character with just a few minor changes. That are more cosmetic than anything.
Yeah.
But at least the med dude, like, heals shit.
Yeah. So gameplay sounds pretty straightforward. It's a Ratalaika title. How are the achievements?
The achievements in this are mostly fairly simple. You can get the majority of them just playing the game survival mode and not even touch the campaign. Like, you could do one campaign mission and get all of the campaign achievements.
Oh, geez.
I think there were 6 missions available, all with different settings, but they weren't locked behind any kind of progression. You could do any one of them in any order you wanted. So basically it was just pick one, get through the objectives. The objective thing was kind of weird though, because literally a case falls out of the sky when you get to a certain destination. There's a white arrow attached to your health bar that's around your character, and you follow that arrow to get to wherever this case falls down at, and then you collect that case and it gives you your objective. Once you have your objective, then whatever you do counts. Like if you kill 5 or 10 zombies before you get the objective to kill 5 or 10 zombies, it doesn't give a fuck. Go find 5 or 10 more and kill them now. Which was kind of unfortunate. Most of the actual gameplay and most of the achievements are just for killing certain types of the different enemies, which it's fine. They're point at them, shoot. Usually 2 to 3 hits will take them out. The biggest issue is that there are these turrets around the world, and those motherfucking turrets, one hit and you've got just a sliver of life left.
Oh.
And they can be off screen.
Oh.
And so you can't see and can't prepare yourself. You're just like, la la la, following my white arrows. Well, game over. Do it again.
Son of a bitch.
And then at least you can get to a point where like you start to memorize where those fuckers are at. Because that's your only hope for getting around them. It's just, it's easier to deal with if you have other people playing with you. If you're trying to play it solo, it's the moment you're anywhere within range of one of those turrets, you're fucked.
No.
Unless you're playing as the medkit guy and can heal yourself. But even then, you're limited to he only has 4. And you might want to save those for the boss. Thankfully, there is a boss checkpoint. So if you get all kinds of fucked up by the boss, you don't have to slog through the whole campaign over again. I've said slog a lot today. That describes my week of gaming.
Word of the day.
Yeah. That's fine. Yesterday it was garbage. but it's at least you don't have to redo the campaign. But for the most part, if you're wanting to knock it out achievement wise, just go into survival mode. There's an achievement for getting to level 10 of survival, and by that point you will have already got almost every achievement for killing all the different enemy types and stuff.
Damn. So it's a Ratalaika game. It's
a Ratalaika game. I do think it could have been a better game because it's not bad. It just needs tweaked. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if it moved a little faster, if you didn't walk so goddamn slow, if the enemies weren't so slow, and if those turrets didn't shoot you when you couldn't even fucking see them, like you'd have a full-fledged twin stick on your hands that would be really enjoyable to just sit down with some friends and blow through.
Yeah.
But when it comes
stands for $6, what do you think?
Fuck it, why not? I mean, it stands up. It's okay. I just wish that, it was a faster paced game. But
makes sense.
Easy achievements and it's not one of the worst ones they've ever put out. So
works for
I'm
me.
Not particularly mad at it. It's just that it could have been a little better.
It's $6, so bug it.
It's fine. Bug it. Why not? I had fun.
As long as you had fun, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
All right, next game is called Night Lights, developed by Grave Danger Games and Meridian 4, published by Meridian 4, released June 7th on Steam for $9.99. Be a tiny robot, beacon of light in a dark and puzzling world, pierce the darkness and enter night lights. Our friend Serlina covered this one, and this is what she's got to say. Hey there, SML friends and fans. She's not going to learn with that, is she?
Nope.
This is Serlina, and this week I'm reviewing Night Lights on Steam, which is a puzzle platforming game developed by Meridian 4, Artem Chernev, and Grave Danger Games. In this game, you play as a cute little robot that wakes up because of a meteor crash that takes out all the lights, and it's up to you to get the lights back on. The game is very minimalistic in its storytelling, which I actually enjoyed. In the beginning cinematic, you see the meteor, and you're also instructed how to you're introduced to how light affect your world effects. All right, that's what threw me off. Forgot an S there. You're also introduced to how light affects your world. Then the game shows you the controls and says you're on your own. Nice. You find yourself in a forest, one of 3 distinctly different levels, and you have to use the scant sources of light to complete your goal. The sources of light that you find throughout the game can either reveal or erase objects or hidden pathways that you'll need to continue traversing the world. You also have to gather lightning bolts and little diamonds that I'll call batteries to power warp points to progress. One thing that you'll find out fairly quickly is you can't gather all the lightning bolts that you see immediately, which was kind of annoying for me. Still, this is a platformer, so that you know you'll be able to unlock double jump eventually, of course. Some of the other unlocks are a dash move and the ability to create light above your head, which is super helpful in these situations where you don't have access to light. That's all fairly standard, so let's talk about the controls and gameplay. The controls continue the minimalistic theme. You use the directional keys X, C, and the space bar. That's it. Plus, it's fully controller supported if you'd rather use those sticks. You can also map your controls differently if you need to, but I didn't have any problems with the default scheme. The puzzles are surprisingly complex. You'll have to figure out which light you need to progress and how that light will affect the environment around you. Some lights are stationary, some lights move, and some lights you have to move yourself so you can continue. I really appreciated that the different ways the light manipulates the environment and objects. What I didn't like is the platforming in this game. I can't stand jumping in a puzzle game. Plus, the jumps in this game have to be so precise. I'll give you a scenario. I've powered a lift that will take me to a higher level, which is where I need to go. There's a light that's moving along the same path, but at a slower pace as the lift. That's important because this particular light erases the lift when it shines on it, making it unusable. I can turn off the light, but first I've got to make this jump. There's maybe a second or two before the lift disappears, so your jump has to be perfect. This scenario is one of many and highly infuriating for me. Let's talk about the background. The music is minimal and lullaby-like, which fits because your character was awakened in the middle of the night. I really like the art design of the different stages. The game's 2D, but I love the way the environment was layered, giving the illusion of 3D. It's still minimalist and bleak, especially in the desert levels. I don't know if I completely buy it in the city levels, but it does make you feel like you're on a planet of one, for good or ill. Nightlights is available on Steam for $9.99, so is it worth your time? Yes, you should buy this one. Even with the stupid jumping, I still had an amazing time with the puzzles and just enjoying the environment of the game. Not a flashy game, but still an endearing and entertaining one. Sounds good.
Yep.
All right. Next up is Graveyard Keeper Stranger Sins DLC, developed by Lazy Bear Games, published by Tiny Build, released October 28th on all platforms for Graveyard Keeper for $9.99. Do you remember Lumberjack, Beekeeper, Corey, and Tress, and the other silent NPCs? Almost all of them will find a voice and character in this DLC, and this character will be even more crazy than the original game. In search of mysterious artifacts of antiquity, you will learn more about the backstory and relationships of these NPCs, if you can convince them to talk. Cole, tell us about it.
So I have to be super careful because there's a lot of spoiler landmines in this DLC.
Oh boy.
For anybody not familiar with Graveyard Keeper, the whole premise is that you play as a dude who is trying to get to go see his lady friend, but he gets hit by a car and he wakes up in some kind of like limbo type world where he has to take on the role of being the Graveyard Keeper, and the whole point is you're slogging through I said slog again. Going through everybody's chores and doing all these quests and tasks to try to get back home. That means that you're doing crazy things like doing autopsies where you're carving up people for meat because the people in the town don't have a source for meat, and so you're selling them corpse meat. And that kind of ridiculousness continues on in the DLC. One of the most impressive things about Graveyard Keeper is that it already had a shit ton to do. I play the game with a wiki open. If you've ever played Stardew Valley but wondered if it could have more blood and gore and just been a little darker, this is for you. Stranger Sins builds on that. We don't get a lot of detail about the backstory of all the characters in the town and, how everything came to be where it is. Oh, God, it's so hard to do this without giving details. Shit. When you play the base game, there's a lot of stuff that's left very vague. And so if you can carry out the proper tasks, you get to find out a little more about everybody's stories, their relationships, how they came to be where they are within this town. Additionally, you get the bonus of opening your own tavern. There's a little bit of humor to the tavern for me, because the Dead Horse Tavern is a big deal in the base game. But then you just go along and open up your own tavern next to it in the DLC. And it's like, well, thanks for all your help, asshole, but I'm getting everybody drunk now.
Oh, God.
It was kind of an amusing twist on the play. I was like, that guy helped me out so much when we were getting started, and then look what I went and did. Rip.
Oh, wow.
One thing I will say though about the DLC, there is a second DLC for Graveyard Keeper called Breaking Dead. Are you sensing a theme here?
Yes.
So with Breaking Dead, it gave you the ability to turn zombies into your little worker drones. And they would do all of the menial tasks that you needed done. They would go and collect your stone and your wood and your iron. And that's fantastic, because otherwise Graveyard Keeper leaves you to go do all that shit by yourself. And the map is insanely huge. They finally gave us a teleportation stone, and you can actually teleport to certain areas, and it does help out and cut down some of that time. But without the worker zombies, you're dragging shit just all day. And one of the downsides to Stranger Sins is if you don't already have that other DLC pack, you're gonna spend a ton of your time playing just trying to get the resources and materials you need to access the DLC. The one plus side to it is that you don't have to have finished the campaign in its original form to access it, but you do need to have done certain tasks. Now, there is one task where the little talking skull that helps you out with everything, his name is Jerry. Every time I describe this game, I realize I sound like I'm insane. But Jerry really lacks alcohol. And one of his first tasks for you is to bring him a beer.
Nice.
That doesn't get him drunk enough, so then he asks you for wine. And so you have to learn to make wine in the game so that you can bring him wine. So with the launch of Stranger Sins, as long as you've done the task where you take Jerry wine, you can go ahead and access the DLC from there, because after that, he asks you to bring him cognac.
Oh,
and
God.
so that's how that's how that gets started, because your character knows how to make fun how to say wine. I don't think there's any way at all I could even curb saying that one properly. Wine? No,
Wine.
that doesn't work. Wine. I
just love that it's they're not following the proper saying of liquor before beer, you're in the clear. Beer before liquor, never been sicker. So it looks like it's starting off with a beer and then going to wine and cognac. No, he's
yeah. But I mean, he's just a skull. He doesn't have a stomach or anything. He doesn't even have a brain in him. So he's fine. I've also heard, Aki says she's never heard of that. I hadn't either, but I had heard that, beer will get you there, but liquor's quicker. But yeah, back to the game.
Yes, back to the game.
You can one of the things that's really difficult about the game is actually storing up money. And if you don't already have that DLC to help you get the resources and stuff so that you have a steady income coming in, getting that initial $30 to open the tavern is one of the most grindiest fucking things I've ever done in my life.
Oh, God.
I have every intention on payday of buying the zombie DLC to make my life easier, because this shit is hard. Having to farm grapes and make alcohol. I'm not saying it again. Make alcohol
Whine.
And not having zombies to do it for me just made me want to cry. But now, if you've already got the other DLC, then it's far easier. For $10, depending on how far you are in your game, you could probably say it adds about 4 to 8 hours of extra play. If you're like me and you're in a position where you have to like grind for fuck all and forever, then you're probably looking more at like a 12 to 15 hour edition, just because you're gonna be hauling ore for a while.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as much as I'd like to like have the zombies and not have to worry about it, I've also just enjoyed being able to sit there and mindlessly play and revisit Graveyard Keeper, because I haven't played it since it come out. And when it came out, I put in close to 100 hours or so in it. Jesus. Because I'm obsessive compulsive, and that's the thing I do.
Yeah, I could tell.
So it was nice, like, you know, I had a fully functioning farm, and my graveyard was already pretty updated, you know, upgraded and stuff. So it was nice to go back to it, but at the same time, I was like, fuck was I doing? What are all these things? Where are my materials? How do I make a stone? So I think Lord. Probably a better chunk of my time with the DLC was just trying to refamiliarize what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah, that's always good when you're away from a game and you go back to it. You're like, what the hell? I don't understand this game anymore.
Somebody find me a wiki.
This has nothing to do with Graveyard Keeper, but I played Need for Speed Heat for like an hour, just in, you know, trying to see if I would enjoy the game. The handling sucks, by the way. And then I went back to Grid, and I couldn't drive at all in that game. It took me like 3 races before I got back to being able to drive in there. By the way, the Elite controller on Need for Speed and Grid, oh, I love my Elite. Nice. I love my Elite. The tension, oh my god. Anyway, $10 on Graveyard Keeper, Stranger Sins. What do you think?
This is an absolute buy it. If you've already played the game, if you enjoyed it, any at all, you're not going to be mad at some extra content. It adds plenty of extra content. There's a lot more to do. Plus, you know, Tavern Simulator. Go for it.
Awesome. All right, final game to talk about tonight is a preview of Little Dungeon Stories, developed by David Moralejo Sanchez, published by Grab the Games, releasing Q4 2019 on Steam, Q1 2020 on Xbox One, Switch, and PS4. Little Dungeon Stories is a challenging roguelike card-based RPG. Enter the dungeon full of secrets, hostile enemies, deadly traps, and legendary loots. How long can you survive? Cole, how long did you survive?
Made it to like floor 140.
Damn.
Yeah. So to be perfectly honest, I get addicted to these kind of games, and I don't even realize that I'm spending the kind of time at them that I am. And Little Dungeon Stories is the perfect kind of card game to do that with. There's literally one card on the screen at any given time. You either swipe it left or swipe it right to carry out an action, and then you go down another floor. And so, like, before I know it, I'm sitting there, swipe, 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 swipe. And then I'm like, what have I been doing for the last 4 hours? Oh, swiping. Right. When you get a card to pop up, it will usually give you some kind of detail. It'll say, it might have like a little spot on it. It'll say that there's a gremlin, or I can't remember the proper name for what they used. There were slimes and a few other different things. Because again, you just swipe left or right, so don't have to focus on it too hard.
So it's Tinder, the game.
It's like Tinder, but with less dicks. I'm not going to say no dicks. Some of the enemies are dicks.
Literally or figuratively?
Figuratively. There should be a literal dick. I'm a little sad now. Maybe we need to like send them a message and let them know that there should be at least one dick monster. I don't think they'd be amused with me. So when the card comes up, it'll give you some information. It's not anything overbearing. It'll say, oh, there's this monster. What do you want to do? And if you hold the card left or right, it will come up and give you, say if you swipe it left, then that's run away. But if you swipe it right, you're going to attack. If you swipe right, then it'll come up and say, do you want to use a sword or a shield? And then you swipe left for sword or right for shield. And that's how combat pans out. It's just you make a decision, left or right, yes or no, everything. As simple and easy to play as it is, I do have one minor gripe, and that is it can take some getting used to figure out where it says what's going to happen with the cards. I think I played the first 5-10 minutes just like moving stuff randomly with no idea that there was any indication as to what I was actually doing with which direction it was going.
Oh, God.
Does that make sense? I was just like, I don't know what to do. Right works, send it right. And I just kept sending things to the right without realizing that in the top of the card, it says, but it's only like it doesn't show up until you start to move the card that way. So if you're trying to choose, sword or shield, left may be sword, right may be shield, but it won't show you that until you hold the card and start to move it left or move it right. And even then, it just kind of like grays over the top of the card, and then there's black text on top of that, and it can be really hard to see. I think that's why I was moving through it so fast that I was just like completely missing it. If that were a little more obvious so that you knew what you were doing, like if it was at the top right or top left of the card and just part of the card, that would be more ideal.
Sounds okay, though.
So once you know it's there and you slow down and you look for it, then you're better off. But it's still kind of hard to read. And there were times where I was like, especially if it's a lengthier one where it's like turn around and run back or something like that. And then you're like, what's that say? It's black on dark gray, and it's a little difficult. Beyond that, though, it was such a charming little game, and it's one of those that you can just really lose yourself in and just sit and mindlessly play for a long time, especially if you like roguelike type dungeon crawlers. Every time you play, the further you get. There's no traditional XP system at play, so it's just you play until you get dead. Yeah. And it uses 3 systems that can fuck you over. You have your health, you have your stamina, but you also have your humanity. And so if you go to every time you swipe, you lose humanity. So there are potions that will get it back for you. And there are certain events you can run into that can help you get your humanity back. But there are also some that'll take it away from you. It's just luck of the draw, literally every time you play.
That's the joy of roguelikes.
Yeah. Once your humanity or your health is gone, or your money, if you run out of money, you can't afford food for the trip, so you're gone. But once any of those things are completely empty, it's game over. Depending on how far you made it, you'll get some pop-ups. So they'll say, okay, well, now this item will appear in the dungeon in the future. Now this enemy will appear in the dungeon in the future. And so every time you play, it's different because you've unlocked new things that could show up. So even though it's just swipe one card left or right, left or right, left or right, there's a lot of potential for it to shake up and be different every time you play.
Nice. So we don't have a price on this one yet. We don't even have a solid release date. But is this worth keeping an eye on?
Absolutely. I could see myself, even if it came to Xbox, I'd be like, I will swipe all day long. Left, right, left, right, left, right.
Well, hitting consoles sometime Q1 next year. So it will be hitting Xbox. Yep. Did you not listen when I said that at the beginning?
Well, I listened, but I
don't
I don't know. I was probably reading chat or something and glossed over.
Q4 2019 on Steam, Q1 2020 on Xbox, Switch, and PS4. So it's going to be hitting everything.
I did miss that somehow. Wow. Yeah. I must have been reading chat. But yeah.
No time. So it's Tinder the card game without dicks coming next year.
True. I listened, but I didn't hear. And
It's
I do
okay.
that a lot.
I don't
When you
listen
talk-
either. I don't like the host.
When you talk, I phase out.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, nice being here.
Yeah, you were talking before, and I was paying attention to chat. Jenny dropped by, so hello to the Lady Eves. Thank you for
Hi.
dropping by. Welcome to the show, and thank you for hanging out, everyone, because that's the end of the show.
Yep. We're done.
Yes, indeed. Thank you again to Nathan for coming by and chatting with us about Pig Eat Ball. Thanks to Tim and Grant for dropping by and chatting about the Polygon Top 100 list. Thanks to Dark Mika for coming by and doing her review. And thanks to you for being here like always, because you have nothing better to do.
Aw. That was so positive until it was not.
I know. You think we're going to end this show on a high note? That never happens.
I mean, we do when I speak because I have a high-pitched voice.
Okay, then give us some final words.
Fucking no.